The truth can be unpleasant. That's why we use lies like equality. This is an extraordinary lie. Equality, imagine. What is equal in our society? We see that the president pardoned his own son. Yeah? Why are there such things as pardons if we're all equal? There wouldn't be a such thing as a pardon, right? Because we know that not everyone has equal access to pardons, huh? Why is it that if you harm or assault a police officer, that's taken with more gravity than if you harm or assault a citizen? It's because we're not equal, we're not viewed as equal. The government is nothing more than mafia, but most of you cannot accept that psychologically. You retreat to your religions, you retreat to various systems of ideas and interpretations that give you psychological comfort. The idea, the idea that government is not mafia is utterly ridiculous. I was listening to a documentary some time ago, listening to a mob boss talking about how they're taxing everyone at the ports in New York. And he was talking about how they were having conflict with other mafia organizations that were trying to muscle in on their racket. And then he talked about the reason they got shut down by the government. Why? Because the government doesn't want the mafia taxing what the government taxes, which is to say the government is merely a rival mafia that also taxes. What do you pay mafia for? You pay them protection money. Well, that's what the government did. They stopped the mafia, La Cosa Nostra, from taxing people because you pay the government protection money. The government will tax you, but they won't let anyone else tax you. So the fact of the matter is that the government is merely a mafia. And when you rebel against the government or don't agree with them or don't want to be a part of, or rather victim of their mafia, because we're not a part of their mafia, we're victim of their mafia, then the imbeciles who have been tricked into believing in government as an ideology, they call you names. So they'll call you a cult, they'll call you criminal, they'll call you a miscreant, they'll call you all kinds of things because you don't want to participate in the cult that is called the American government. And the truth is, we all know that if the American government was viewed as legitimate by the American citizens, they wouldn't have to steal taxes from you. You would give it voluntarily, the same way that we give to the church voluntarily. It's called tithes, and that's because you believe and you subscribe. So there you go. But, you know, it's very difficult actually for me to take out time sometimes to go live because there's so many things that I could say. And sometimes I have so many things to say that I can't say anything. You ever have so much on your mind that you just cannot say anything because there's just so much to say? And you know that for the most part, what you say will fall on deaf ears. People have such limited understanding, and even those who have greater intellectual capacity, they're crippled by their emotionalism. You can see emotions turn an intelligent person idiotic. And with the blacks in particular, my great fortune is that I'm aware, because I've traveled the world and seen all of God's creations, I'm aware that you find idiocy in fairly equal proportions around the world among the different varieties of humankind. However, the Black Americans sometimes sadden me because I have to deal with their idiocy in particular because they see me and I look like them. And so at a level they attract and they expect me to say certain things that have been parroted to them their whole life. And they're really caught between two ideological paradigms, either the Afrocentrists who claim everything was black in origin. I just recently obliterated a Hebrew Israelite imbecile who claimed that King James was black. And this is what they do. They try to say everything was black, even though there's pretty much no evidence, nothing that's legitimate. So he wants to claim that a white man was black just to legitimate his foolish religious beliefs. And they often do this. Now, there's some things that actually are black, and there's evidence for it. There's genetic evidence, and there's legitimate, well-respected scholars. Like, for example, ancient Egypt was black, is black. And there's huge amounts of evidence, not only from black scholars like Sheikh Anta Diop, Dr. Ivan von Sertima, but also from white scholars like Bernal. There's books called Black Athena. There are books that I've listed on Amazon.com/shop/the same. The center extraordinary amounts of evidence, including genetic and scientific evidence that is still emerging. And the farther you go back in ancient Kemetic history, you find that it gets blacker and blacker. And then the more you come to the current time, you look at folks like Cleopatra, those are Caucasians. There's no doubt about that. But also you have to remember that Cleopatra is irrelevant and she was not of the pyramid building age. But anyways, that's something that was in fact whitewashed. But then you have blacks trying to do the same thing that the whites did. So the whites whitewash things, then the blacks are blackwashing things. And they're saying that King James was black just so that the Hebrew Israelites can, continue their foolish, ridiculous fantasy narrative. So you have that side of blacks that blackwash everything. Then you have the other side. You have the Candace Owens, who are not very principled, and they are basically, she's a bedwench. She's someone who really grovels at the feet of the white conservatives who are less conservative and more racist and hateful. And she grovels there because they need her as a puppet, because she can say things that I can't say. And so she operates as a bedwench, and she really is not like us. She's not a reasonable person. She even played a clip of Tupac when he was in art school in Baltimore and said that he was gay based on the clip, which is, no, he's not a homosexual. He's a prepubescent boy in a liberal educational institution where there's ballet and a bunch of Caucasian people who are more effeminate, and some of them actually gay. And she made this accusation, one, to be salacious and to get clicks, and also to degrade a black hero. And Tupac was a youngster who had no real coherent ideology. He was just as dumb as most people who are watching me this very moment. But he definitely was inspired and very artistic and powerful. But he followed, say, the Black Panthers, and they lacked ideology. They did good work, though. Shout out to the Black Panther Party for self-defense. They did phenomenal work, but they lacked ideology. And because so many of you believe in black inferiority, blacks included, so there are whites who believe in black intellectual inferiority, and then there's also blacks who believe in black intellectual inferiority. So when you see someone like me, there's an inherent hatred. And when I point out things like you follow false religions and you follow religions that are not of your people, so you're black, but you follow the religion of the whites, Christianity, or you're black and you follow the religion of the Arabs, Islam. You're black, but you follow fill in the blank from these other people. And so you see me bless you with ideas that are novel and applicable to our time. And you, for some reason, find it something that breaks your mind, the idea that a black person would come up with their own ideas as opposed to doing what the Black Panther Party for self-defense did and trying to hop onto Maoism or communism or Marxism, instead of actually being a thinker and coming up with ideas that apply today. I don't say any of what I've said to disparage Islam or Christianity, and I know there are people in the comments that are like, Christianity, the oldest Bible's in Ethiopia, and the Ethiopians were Christians before such and such. And a lot of the white supremacist Christians like to even use this when it's convenient. It's worth noting, I've been to Ethiopia many times. My most recent trip was not my first trip. I've been there many times. And the Ethiopian people are, the women are beautiful people. The guys, a bit scrawny. But you'll find white Jesus all over the place in Ethiopia. As much as you want to say that Ethiopia has the oldest Bible and they have the complete Bible and they have 88 books of the Bible, unblemished, untarnished, they have white Jesus everywhere. So you're going to have to explain that to me. So the fact of the matter is that so often you're taking on ideas that come from foreign nations that are inherently not favoring you. And the blacks are so brainless and self-hating, even the ones that think that they're pro-black, like say a Dr. Umar, who is a real jokester. People, when you attack the black heroes, they really get angry with you. Oh, they get so mad at me because it's like I'm attacking their digital daddy. Yes? You see, when I attack Dr. Umar, it's not because I personally don't like him. I'm personally indifferent. In fact, I find him to be funny. I think he's a comical guy. But I attack him because what blacks especially don't understand, because they have an effeminate nature. They want everyone to get along. This is why they're easy to colonize and enslave, the blacks and the Latinos, the Native Americans. They're easy to enslave. They have an effeminate nature. They're loving. They want everyone to get along. They don't want any conflict, but they don't realize that conflict is necessary to monopolize power and to create and establish a leader. We must have a leading force ideologically, one set of ideas. If there must be a religion, one religion. This is why when you find strong groups, it's because they're homogenous. This is how the Jewish people dominate. They have shared blood and consciousness. They don't let anyone claim that they are a part of the group. With blacks, I mean, blacks are comical people, right? They have dominant genetics, right? So the black phenotypes will manifest very prominently when you mix black blood with other people's blood. However, the comedy is that blacks still have such a lack of self-respect that they'll call anyone black. You can be an albino in coloration, not a literal albino because albinism is a disease, but you can be albino color and you can call yourself black and the blacks will say, you're one of us. You can be my color. The blacks will say, you're one of us. You can be Bernie Mac black, Lil Boosie black. They'll say, you're one of us. They basically say anyone who wants to join this group can join this group. Anywhere I've ever been where it's somewhere that's impressive, it was exclusive. You had to have a membership. You had to pay a lot of money. You had to know someone. Couldn't just walk in. If Black People was a club, it'd be a club that just lets anybody in. The Jewish club, very exclusive, very exclusive. The Arab club, oh, you can't join. And the Arabs don't even value all Arabs at the same level. The Khaliji definitely look down upon the North Africans. There's no doubt about that. Yes, the whites have a one drop rule. You have one drop of black, you ain't us. But the blacks have the opposite of a one drop rule. If you have any speck of black, you're one of us. We welcome you. And that's why they're so weak and watered down. And they have no ideology, no shared religion. One's a Christian, one's a Muslim, one's an atheist, one's a Pan-Africanist, one's a separatist, one's a this, one's a that. And that's why you don't understand why I bring war. I bring war because we must eliminate the diversity of ideas and positions and leaders because one, the other ones are inferior and foolish. They've already been tried before. Religion for the blacks has already been tried. You don't remember Martin Luther King was a preacher? You don't remember that? Al Sharpton's a preacher. Jesse Jackson, isn't he a preacher too? The Hebrew Israelites, the Nation of Islam, the Moorish Science Temple, these are all old things that didn't work ever. They never worked. So we need to do away with that. And we all have to come under this umbrella. That's why I say it's assassin or nothing. So when I bring war to these people, it's not the individual I'm bringing war to, it's their ideas and it's their followers. And it's to rip out those bad things and to make one thing dominate such that we can unify under something strong. Furthermore, the whole idea that it must be peace and peachy, no, we were conquered through war. We're not conquered through conversation. And if we would ever hope to be strong and to be able to move forward and have influence or to protect that which is ours, then we must be masters of war. So I bring war. And there's also a lot of bad ideas that pervade not only the black people today, but also the other peoples. And it's because they've robbed you of your testosterone. The blacks have been robbed of self-esteem as a people as well. I mean, that's why they'll attack each other, but they won't attack the police, you see. Yes? They'll attack one another, but they won't attack the police. That the biggest issue that we all deal with is loneliness. And it's really hard to put a finger on because it's a shapeshifter and it manifests in various feelings and forms. But loneliness is the biggest issue because we live in such unnatural ways. Like even myself, I observe the things that wealth and affluence can do to someone. You see, if you're poor, you must rely on other people because you don't have capital. When you have capital, you can remove other people from your life. When you have capital, things are different, not necessarily in a good way. So you have to really manage things. And that's why I always talk about morality and doing things, not because you have to do them, but because it's the right thing to do. There are times where I could spend a lot of money on this or that, and I'll choose to be thrifty or I'll choose to spend less because it's the right thing to do. It's more moral. It keeps me rightly calibrated. But for example, in this home that I have right now, sometimes I'll, be getting loud or something like that. And my first thought, because I grew up in apartments, right, also known as poverty, I'll start getting loud, doing whatever I'm doing, and then I'll be like, oh, I don't want to disturb anyone. Well, there's no one to disturb. I'm on about, an acre and a half, I think, and got 7,000 square feet. I don't have anyone else in the house. I do have an employee, and my home has an apartment attached to it. So there's 3 separate kitchens. And so obviously the apartment is attached, and it's fairly far enough away that you can't hear anything that I do. Even when I'm hitting the heavy bag in my gym, my personal gym, you can't even hear that when I'm hitting the speed bag. So, but I catch myself like, oh, I don't want to disturb anyone because I'm used to having those apartment walls where your neighbors can hear you. Then I ask myself the moral question of, is it right or wrong to be loud and get conditioned into being thoughtless and inconsiderate of others, even though in my current situation there are no others to consider, right? There's no one immediately next to me or close to me. Should I get conditioned into just wilding out and being loud, right? Like, ah! No one heard that. Like even my employee in the apartment attached to this building, he didn't hear that. Nobody heard that. My neighbors, they can't hear that. Far away. Should I be comfortable doing that whenever I feel like it? Probably not. So those are the moral questions that I wrestle with. But anyways, let me get back focused. I don't want to go too pedantic on you. I know I'll lose some people. Here's the point. When you're poor, you need people. When you're not poor, you don't need people. And it's dangerous. So, for example, I have a big house. It's empty, and I have a big house because I can afford a big house, right? I don't have a big house because I need a big house. And that's also another moral decision, which is like, well, should you live in a mansion because you can afford a mansion? Or should you, yeah, I'm sorry about that, Jay. He said RIP headphone users. I feel you, Brody. Do you live in a mansion because you can afford a mansion? Like, do you buy it and have all those square feet even though you're not going to use them? Is that immoral? Well, that's something to think about. But the fact is, it makes you lonelier, right? So if I lived in an apartment, I'd be far more likely to have contact with other human beings. If I was lower income, I would have far more necessity to ask other people for favors and for things. And because of that, it would keep us connected, right? Because I need something one day, they need something another day. It keeps us connected. In Puerto Rico, they have a saying, I think it was hoy por mí, mañana por ti, which is to say today for me, tomorrow for you. So those are the kind of things that someone writes, how do I join? Are you talking about joining the movement? You can go to patreon.com/thesaintandthesinner. If you're talking about joining the live session, we're not dealing with anyone who wants attention today, but there will be other times. So anyways, loneliness is the biggest thing that we're dealing with. And then you have your phone, which acts as a fake friend to you. It gives you a fake sense of security, a fake sense of support, a fake sense of engagement and entertainment. And so the challenge is that you feel connected without really being connected. And so it's like you're having a percentage of a real relationship. You heard me? Like if you didn't have a phone at all, like say I didn't have a phone at all, right? And I'm just living in my life. I literally don't have to go outside at all, right? I got plenty of food, plenty of space. I got a home gym. I got a home sauna. I got a home theater. I got a home office. I got a home studio, like audio video studio. I don't have to leave for any reason at all, right? And so say I didn't have a cell phone. If I didn't have a cell phone or an internet connection, I would probably get lonely like really quickly. I get very lonely and fall into depression and feel really down and bad. So what happens in this, instead of being completely lonely because I don't have an internet connection or I don't have a phone, I do have a phone and internet connection. So instead of experiencing the fullness of life, live with other human beings, which would give you 100% satisfaction, instead I still feel some connection. So you're at like 30% satisfaction and 30% human connection and 30% of feeling engaged with other human beings, which is enough to subsist. It's not enough to thrive, it's enough to survive. And so many of us are experiencing that 30%. And one thing I want you guys to know is, and this is what I always tell you guys, like, man, you guys are so obsessed with money, and I've been there for sure, because I grew up very poor, very poor. You're so obsessed with money, but you don't realize that that's not the goal. The goal is actually happiness, right? And you guys forget about that. Like my formal dining table, it's right here. I never even really use it unless I'm doing an event or my ladies are here and they cook up a meal, and then I'll have my employee come down and we'll sit down. I never even use it. And my balconies, which wrap around the property, there's one side of the balcony and it wraps all the way around. It has built-in seats. I never go out there and sit on that balcony because I'm often inside working. And then, when you accumulate enough money, you immediately start asking yourself, well, what am I working for? And you realize that you're like a mouse on a wheel and you're trying to take yourself out and figure out, like, what am I working to get that I don't have that I really want and need? Okay. So what do I not have that I'm working to get that I really want and need? And you have to understand yourself. In Boston University, I talk a lot about this stuff, which is understanding the self, because we want feelings. It's all feelings. Like, nobody actually wants money. You want feelings. You don't even want the objects that you think you want. I mean, there's some things I very much do enjoy. I do very much so enjoy the rear seat experience in an antique, or actually in a Maybach. I enjoy the rear seat experience. I also just love the very tactile and manual nature of antique cars. But still, it's not the material or the object that you want. What you really want, what you really, really want, are feelings, right? Like, when I get the antique and I pull up, I want the feeling of people looking like, that's a bad mother right there. I ain't never seen anything like that. I want the feeling of people looking like, dang, that's a super player. Like, that's not everyday stuff. You can be as rich as you want, you still can't get that car. That's a one of one. That's the feeling I want. In the Maybach, there's a lot of utility because for many years I worked incessantly, and to be able to sit in the back while my assistant is driving, and then to fold out the tray table that's like full size, and it has like an outlet, AC outlet, to plug in your computer, I can like really work. So it's very useful and helpful. But I don't have to work as hard or as psychotically as I once did. I still work much harder than anyone watching this right now, just in case you're curious. I still work way harder than anyone watching this. I'm very certain of it because I've just been conditioned to it. And I like working. But I just want you guys to get this piece right here, which is, what am I working for that I don't already have today? And then you start thinking like, oh, gee, maybe I shouldn't lock myself in by myself and keep working, because the things that I enjoy, I already have access to. I'm just not consciously choosing to engage those things. When am I experiencing high levels of joy? I experience very high levels of joy when I exercise with my friends or my loved ones, very high levels of joy. I experience high levels of joy when I go out on the town with my ladies, like comedy show. I experience high levels of joy when I travel the world. I experience high levels of joy when I eat a home cooked meal, and all of these things. And so the question is, well, why am I not trying to organize my life to do a lot more of those things now? Like now, like I don't even have to wait to do those things. And the reason that we rarely think through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way through, is because it's almost scary, because then it's like the game is over. The game is over. I've already won. You've already won, but you don't realize it. You chase money and wealth, not realizing wealth is in people. And the reason that your quality of life is not as high as it should be is because our physical organization, like the way your living situation has been organized by modern economy and by the European way, is such that you're disconnected. You don't see your grandmother, you don't see your parents, you don't see your siblings. They live way over there and way over there. They had to move to Timbuktu for a job. The other one had to move over there they're in the army because they need to get their college paid for. And, this person has to work 5 jobs. And so you don't interact with these people who really matter. And that's where your happiness comes from. That's where your protection comes from. When I see things on the news, like, for example, whether it's ICE kidnapping people or, the police treating people wrong, my first observation is it's almost always one person that they target, this government cult, if you will. They target one person. I mean, or they'll target children where there's no adult, there's no man or men there. And really, we should all live in tribes and travel in tribes. And that's why the goal of the government is to keep you separated and break apart clans and break apart families. And when I hear these foolish Black Hebrews talk about, monogamy as the way. I'm like, no, monogamy equals small families. Small families equals weakness. The family in economics is known as the first firm. So the family is a firm, which is kind of like a business unit, and firms generate capital, revenue, money. And so when you have bigger families, you have more revenue. Just like, your grandmother, your great grandmother used to have a higher number of kids. Why? They can work the field. Also, some of them will die. It just is what it is. Second, the government wants you in a weak situation. Yeah, some imbecile was calling me. I shouldn't say an imbecile. Someone just probably trying to sell me something, trying to market, doing some poor marketing, asking me for something. I advise you guys, like, stop asking for stuff. Like, that's Boston University. That's why Boston University is such a great piece of education. It teaches you how to navigate the world. But anyways, those are some of the things I wanted to share. Like even Amazon, I'm crushing a box right now. And things like Amazon, they actually separate us. You're like, Marquett, what are you talking about? Well, they separate us in as much as if you go to the grocery store, you have an opportunity to meet someone else, whether it's a friend, to make a new friend, or to engage a love interest, to discover something new, to get some sunlight, fresh air, to have a human experience. But when you stay at home and all of your produce and your groceries and your shopping is not done at the mall, it's done from your home, you become further separated and isolated and also overly reliant on technology at the expense of people and human relationships. And so increasingly, you become reliant on Amazon and the government as your family and your decision makers. And you're eating, of course, processed food, even though sometimes you don't even know it's processed. But all of these things are overwhelmingly detrimental. And more importantly, you find people become more and more weird. And the reason they become more and more weird is because when we are isolated as human beings, when we're separated, we get weird because we don't have others to chastise us or to say, bro, like, what are you on? Or to keep an eye on us. That's how people get addicted to this anime adult content, like weird stuff like that. Because I know if I was around somebody looking, I was like, bro, like, what are you doing, bro? When you don't have anyone to put social sanction on you, you get weird. Like even myself, when I come home from traveling the world and I lock into work and do business, I might not shower. I only shower when I work out, right? And I consider a day is a sleep cycle for me. Like in my world, a day is not 24 hours. A day might be 36 hours. So a day is from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. So a day might be 36 hours. And I'll keep plugging along, just working until I do my exercise or my workout. And if there's no one around, I might go 30 hours without showering because I've just been working and I didn't do my exercise yet. Whereas if there were people around me, I'd be more inclined to shower sooner, which is to say other human beings regulate us. It impacts the way we operate. It impacts our standards. It impacts everything about us. And what has happened with the European mode of life that the Western societies have put upon us, everything is circled around the thing that matters the least, which is your job and money making, right? As opposed to your family and your happiness. Come on now. So it's never, hey, I'm gonna do this thing that makes me happy or this thing with my family, and then I'll get to the work after that. It's organized around, I'm going to work, and then if I have time, I'll see my family. If I have time, I'll deal with my kids or the homies. And that's actually quite backward. You're supposed to work to support your happiness and support your family. But we really have it the other way around, which is that everything else we're using to support our work. And let me tell you the most clever thing about slavery and freeing the slaves. And when I talk about slaves, I'm talking about all of you, white, Asian, Arab, Latino, Black, all of you. Slavery was low key better for you. No, it was. Now you're slaves of your own making. And what I mean is this. Under enslavement, the enslaver actually had quite a bit to do. It's kind of like marriage. This is why marriage is not a good idea. So listen to me. We're talking about marriage and slavery. Hold these ideas in your head for simultaneously. If I'm the slave master and I have you as a slave, then I'm responsible for housing you. So I have to pay for your housing. I'm responsible for feeding you. So I have to make sure that you have access to food that you can consume that'll keep you alive so you can continue working. And if you have family, I have to deal with them too. So your housing, your clothing, your basics, your necessities, I have to cover all of that and as well keep you working. And I only cover those things to keep you working. Conversely, if you're a free person, which many of you consider yourselves to be free persons, if you're a free person, then you now have to cover your housing, your basics, your cell phone, your food, and all these other things. And the only reason you're really covering those things is to keep working, but you have to work to cover those things. Listen to me, you have to work to cover those things. So the leadership class or the propertied class or the wealthy class or the bourgeoisie, they have been clever enough that they freed all of you. You're not indentured servants, you're not slaves, except of your own making. And you work really, really hard. And when you hear people say, oh, I work so hard just to make ends meet, well, what that really means is that you're working so hard just to be able to pay for your apartment and to be able to pay for your food and, you know, maybe a night out. And all of those things are having you barely survive such that you can continue working. Yes? Just so you can continue working. And you forget that if you lived in an actual community, then life would be so much easier. And I'll tell you why. And we should not use the term community thoughtlessly. You hear people say the Black community. Well, if it's actually a community, what's their phone number? What's the email address? Where's it located? It's not a community. It's just nonsense. But if there was a Black community, there would be a location, there would be a phone number, and there would be benefits. There are benefits to a community. So for example, you guys are probably ones who have a gym membership, right? So say that you actually had a real community and there was 200 of you co-located, right? So there's 200 of you guys and you're co-located. Instead of paying a gym membership, which is what most of you guys do, so say you're paying $80 per month for a gym membership and maybe you go, maybe you don't go. If there's 200 of you guys paying $80 a month, right? So $80 times 100 people, that's $800 times 200 people, which is what I said, a community of 200 people, that's $1,600 a month. Now, if you multiply that out for say 12 months, then we're looking at say about 24, let's make it square, 25,000 USD. With $25,000, you guys live in a community, you could use that and build your own gym, however you guys actually like it. And the neat thing is you don't have to keep paying incessantly, right? Because you take the 25,000, you source it from the community, you build something for the community, and you're done paying. You don't have to pay the monthly membership to strangers. But because you guys don't have community and you don't live in communities, you can't pool resources. And you guys know when you buy things in bulk, you get it at lower cost. You guys have been to Costco, right? If you buy paper towels in bulk, I don't do my own shopping, so frankly, I don't know the price of anything, so you have to forgive me. But let's say if you go to CVS and you buy one paper towel, let's say it's $5. If you go to Costco and you buy a case of 10 paper towels, each paper towel is now probably like $3. So you're saving money when you buy in bulk. That's the beauty of being in a community. You can pool your resources. So A, you have more resources, and then B, the things that you actually purchase are effectively cheaper. And more importantly, you get ownership as opposed to renting things. So communities are highly effective and also they're happier places. But your government teaches you to view everything as a cult or, you know, fill in the blank with some crazy name just because they don't want it to compete with what they're doing, right? Because they want to tax you, they want to control you, and they want you to always appeal to them. The government wants you to always appeal to its authority. You have a problem in your family, go to family court. You have a disagreement, call the police and put your husband at risk. You know, whatever it is, the government is going to tell you what to do. Oh, there's a pestilence in the land, we're making you take the vaccine, whether you like it or not, in your free country. So the government wants to expand infinitely and be involved in every aspect of life. And the people who are mentally ill and women want government to grow ever bigger, and it'll take more money from you so you're less empowered to do things for yourself or to do what you want, right? You know, we keep on seeing on the internet, it'll say things like, to be middle class in Texas, you need to make $100,000. No, you don't. You just have to have the government stop stealing 40% of your goddamn income. You don't need to make 100,000. You can make 50,000 and be good to go if the government didn't tax you on income tax, state tax, federal tax, sales tax, property tax, estate tax. If they didn't tax you so much, you wouldn't need to make $100,000. The only reason you have to make $100,000 is because by the time you've been taxed to death, you only made $40,000, which means that 60% of your working hours, you're working for free. That's what that means. Well, you're not working for free. You're working for your government that maintains your freedom. Actually, they take away your freedom. That's what they do. Come on now. Come on now. That's what's really going on. And, you know, the people who don't do anything, those are the ones that get rewarded. I tell you guys, there's no coincidences out here. There are no coincidences. And people are so programmed, they don't realize that they're acting as government agents. Some of them are on payroll probably. Guys like Whack 100, Charleston White, they're a part of the government. There's just no doubt about it. I mean, think about it. Charleston White promoting snitching. What is snitching? Snitching is telling on each other, betraying each other to who? To the government. That's what snitching is. What is the likelihood that Whack 100 is an active gang member and all these gang members around him keep getting in trouble, but he never gets in trouble? It's kind of weird, isn't it? He talks a lot, pulls up on people, threatens people. He never gets in trouble. How's that work out? How is it that DJ Vlad and Adam 16 are always around so many gangsters, so much trouble, but they never get in trouble? You know what? I remember growing up, I was around a lot of gangsters and I ended up getting stabbed up, you know, like because of something that I didn't even do. The homie did it, you heard me? But the thing is, you can only be around gangsters for so long before you end up in a gangster situation, whether it's jail or getting stabbed up or shot up. So you just have to wonder, how do these guys manage to stay so clean, these agents? Shout out to Clay supporting the work via PayPal. Appreciate you. I also acknowledge Jalen, writes Peace of the Saints. Thank you. You're welcome and thank you. I also acknowledge EJ came in supporting the work via PayPal. He writes Tuition, Peace of the Saints. I also acknowledge Joshua supporting as well. Shout out to Mr. Thompson supporting. Shout out to Mr. Bradley. Oh, Patrick, you don't have the Discord link? Oh, that's crazy. I always thought you had it. Send me a separate email. I'll reply to your email with the Discord link. I didn't know you didn't have it. I always just thought you were in the Discord. I also acknowledge Carter supporting the work via Venmo. Shout out to Charles, writes Tuition. Appreciate you. Please confirm that you can see me and hear me. I can't see anything. It looks like it's gone black. It's weird. You can see me clear and loud. That's curious. Which way is the camera focusing? Because my camera is gone black. I can't see anything. Give me a second. Isn't that funny? Okay, confirm that we are live. You can see me here. Fantastic, I appreciate that. Great. Let me just share this Discord link. And for those of you who haven't become members, I invite you to do so. There are many benefits that will accrue to you. Actually, I'll have to wait because my Discord is on here. So Patrick, you'll get that in due time. Feel free to send a reminder on that one. If you would have followed what was said in the new member orientation, though, once you put your information in the new member form, at the end of it, it'll give you the Discord link. I try to use these systems because I'm very busy. Shout out to Dominic. He writes, peace to the saints, adding this to the leadership playbook. I hope we can help fight off the evil, assassin or nothing. I appreciate that. Shout out to Dominic. He's a real rider. May I also acknowledge Javi, who just became a member at patreon.com/the saint and the sinner. Very good. Looks like we're caught up there. Let's see what folks are saying on Super Chat. Okay. Shout out to Daniel, just became a member. Marquise writes, I've seen you speak about leaders. What's your thoughts on H. Rap Brown, Imam Jamil Al-Amin, serving a life sentence, essentially? We've been working on getting him out for 20 years. That's a long time. Would the U.S. government ever budge? It depends, but just judging from the name of these individuals, especially the second one, seems like there's a slim chance. You know, Islam, especially Islam, if it's practiced by blacks, is a tough sell because you're going up against two very strong positions in Western governments, which is their religion, which they use Christianity as a tool. So Islam would be representing the opposite, you know, as we might remember from the Crusades. And then you have one who is black, which would say a minority within a majority rule system. So as a result, yeah, it's a very slim chance. And I had some imbecile South African recently DM me, like, you know, F you and all this other stuff. And he was angry because I have spoken the truth about the South Africans and their pathetic conduct. And he was saying, well, why don't you guys take over in America? I was like, because blacks are 13%. It's not a black country. You know, so rightfully, it wouldn't even make sense for blacks to take over. It wouldn't make any sense. It is a white country, in fact. It's 60% white. Whites founded the country that is called the United States. And, you know, rightfully, it makes sense that they would rule. I was like, in your case, though, you're 90% of the country, and that is the land of your forefathers. So we're in radically different situations. So people have to understand their context and be realistic, but the challenge is that with emotions, we can't take critical feedback. It would be one thing if they had some, you know, top secret master plan, but I know that they don't. They do not. Anyways, I've never heard of H-Rap Brown or Imam Jamil Al-Amin, which I think is also going to be challenging for them to get out because you really do need public opinion in your favor. Mr. Buck writes, you cannot spread a way unless you live in the way and you enforce the way. That part, absolutely critical. And the blacks are all about play nice, which is a comical thing because it just indicates that they've not learned anything from their enslavement. They've not learned anything from their colonization. They're completely foolish. Whereas like the Chinese, for example, they've learned a lot from their experience on Earth collectively, as have the Jewish people have learned a lot from their experience on Earth. Mind you, I'd appreciate if some folks would click the like button or tell me why you're not clicking the like button. Tell me what makes you feel like, you know, you want to watch, but you have some sort of unique hatred or freeloading instinct to not click the like button. I would be curious to learn from you. Daniel writes, peace of the saints, thanks for always spreading the ism. It's always refreshing to listen and deprogramming the wrong things I've been fed for years. Oh yes, and the worst thing is that we've been fed lies by those who love us. And it's very consistent, the arrogance. You know, people call me arrogant all the time, and you know, they're not entirely wrong. But I tend to be arrogant about things that are within my area of experience or expertise. I think the height of arrogance is when you're arrogant about things you don't know anything about. I can't tell you how often I have people advising me on things they know nothing about. And that is true arrogance, just at the highest level. So, yes, don't take advice from fools. Every fool has advice to give. And also pay attention to the people who care about you. I have that 3-sentence Bible, 3-sentence Torah, 3-sentence Quran. Be yourself, be good to yourself, be good to good people, which is to say, show love to those who show love to you. Pay attention to the right metrics. I pay attention to the right metrics, and that lets me know that I'm doing the right things. So for example, if I make a video and it has a lot of negative comments, I don't look at the negative comments and say, oh, I shouldn't make a video like that. I look at the negative comments and I say, oh, okay, that's high engagement. I'm a businessman. I'll look at the negative comments and not say, oh, I must have said something wrong. I look at the negative comments and say, did my subscriber count reduce or go up? I click analytics, and the analytics shows that people watched the video and subscribed at a higher rate than other videos where they said I was doing a good job and being positive. So often the opinions of average people are dishonest and inaccurate, and they're not trying to advise you for your good. They're trying to advise you for their good, or they're trying to tell you how to do something they've never done. You'll hear people say, oh, like if you're going to be a revolutionary, you need to do this, or you can't say that, and you can't be like this. Are you a revolutionary? What organization have you built? What have you achieved? What are your accolades? Who are you? You see, people have so much to say. They have so much to say. And men nowadays are just really so effeminate. Like when I drop the link, it's the effeminate males that either talk crazy in the chat, then you drop the link, then all of a sudden they're quiet as a church mouse. Or oppositely, they'll hit the link, but it's not to defend their position. It's because they want attention. They want to be acknowledged. They want to feel connected. They want to be engaged. And again, that goes back to the loneliness piece. At a level, they want attention, but at another level, they just want to engage. They're lonely. They have no content, no meaning in their life. They're lonely. They have a 9 to 5. They go through that thing like a zombie. Every single day is zombie land. They're just going through the motions. Go to a job they hate, hour traffic, get to the job, hate the job the whole way through, drive an hour back home, maybe have a beer, have a TV dinner and a top ramen. And, getting on my live session to argue with me is the only emotional variation that they get. They get to feel something. A baller alert via PayPal, and I already had it pulled up. It reads, "Peace to the saints. I've reached a moment of confusion, Saint. I understand the importance of the 3-sentence Bible, but I've heard so much ism that at times I get overwhelmed trying to accomplish all at once." Now remember, if you were here at the beginning, that's one thing I said about masculine thinking and masculine communication. Simple, concise, linear, straightforward. And the easiest way to do that is simplicity and oneness. And when you can use simplicity and oneness and linear communication, this is something that keeps the mind clear. It shows that you're not overwhelmed, and it keeps you from overwhelming other people. Sometimes when you communicate, you'll overwhelm other people. You ever communicate with someone and they don't reply to you? Maybe you confused them. Maybe you overwhelmed them. That's why they didn't reply. You have to make it plain, make it easy, but also make it plain and easy for yourself. So when you say that you basically consumed a lot of ism and you're saying that you are trying to accomplish it all at once, well, that's not possible. He writes, it's probably more productive to master one than move on to the next. That's correct. Simplicity and oneness. He writes, is there an order you recommend us young men to focus on, sir? I'm 24. Yes, absolutely there is. In Boston University, and this is the most foundational work, it's really on character. It's on building your character, building your leadership skills. Firstly, with leading the self, then with leading others in business, family, relationships, romance, and then being able to endure, for life is a marathon. In Boston University, it is ordered correctly. I have put it in a specific order, the order of importance, and it builds, meaning that the lessons at the beginning are required to execute the strategies that come later in the course. So that is perfectly ordered. That's one of the nice things about, say, taking a course versus just trying to piecemeal together the ism, is because in the course, it's not stream of consciousness. Like here, I'm talking to you, I'm telling you what's on my mind at the time. I'm responding to questions, but when I go through the course, I made an outline before I even started creating the lessons. There's an outline. Even in the Master Communicator course, there's a section in there that's about public speaking. That's not at the beginning, that's toward the end. That's the highest level. Then after that, there's a section on debate tactics. That's not at the beginning, that's toward the end, because that's an even higher level. There are fundamentals you need to build before you engage public speaking, way before you engage debate. So everything builds up, it's well ordered. And that's why I want you guys to know that investing in yourself is worthwhile, because gatekeepers, sometimes they exist. Sometimes you're the gatekeeper because you refuse to invest in yourself. Like, you are gatekeeping yourself out of something because you will not invest in yourself. That's something that we need to be conscious of. And I want you guys to know that if you have a poor person mentality, you need to get out of it. And it's very dangerous. And some people can never get out. It's a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. My mother, for example, has a fixed mindset. My mother still cannot accept that we are not poor, because she's lived in poverty her whole life. That's really all she knows. She was raised in poverty, and then she lived as an adult in poverty. And so still she uses that kind of thinking. So I remember last time my mother was here, we were driving to the grocery store, and I was driving past Kroger. And she says, well, you just passed the grocery store. I was like, no, I'm not going to that one. We're going to fill in the blank grocery store. And then she says, well, why would you go there? That one's so expensive. I say, yes, it is a little more expensive, but I don't really want to be around the kind of people that are going to be in Kroger. No disrespect to anybody who shops at Kroger. I was like, I don't really want to be around the people that are in Kroger. I think there's going to be more interesting people in fill in the blank grocery store. And she was like, yeah, but it's more expensive. And then in my head, I'm just like, are you not listening? Like, I literally just told you I don't care. Not to say that I don't save money, I do, but that's not how I want to save money. And she just wasn't willing to hear that because she's so stuck in a poverty mindset. She has a fixed mindset. There's nothing that can take her out of that. A lot of human beings operate in that way. They're like robots. And so you cannot do yourself like that. What I mean when I say you're doing yourself like that is that you're not allowing yourself to grow. Like, let me tell you something. I want you guys to really pay attention to what I'm about to say right now. This is real. I grew up in such a high level of poverty and hopelessness just around me. Just people were very pessimistic and hopeless because there was so much going wrong, right? Death, destruction, sadness, disappointment, just like a lot of negativity. And as a result, that sunk into my being and in my spirit. And as a result, I always took that with me through life, just in the back of my mind, always having a hyper consciousness that things could just fall apart or go very wrong. So I just recently realized that pretty much everything goes right for me nowadays. And to have that little piece in the back of my head that's always saying, okay, well, brace yourself in case X, Y, and Z falls apart, it's just not necessary. And I only had that because I grew up in a situation where everything could be taken from you so easily. Like, for example, we'd be on Section 8 housing, and my life would change just so rapidly without any warning. Like, you come home from school, right? You went to school, it's a normal day. You're 9 years old, 10 years old. You go to school, you come home, you go to the front door of your apartment, and then there's an eviction notice and the locks are changed. You hear me? Like, all of your stuff is in there, or either it's out somewhere else, who knows? And like, now your life is different. Now you don't live where you used to live. Now you don't have access to your property, things you thought were yours. Your bed is not yours. And so just growing up in that kind of a reality, that things are fragile, they can easily crash or be taken from you. And I held that in my mind so long because that was the truth of how I was being raised. And now I've still, just recently fully got rid of that, because I was talking to someone, I was like, yeah, if this deal goes through. And then I was like, doing some writing and some reflecting. I was like, if this deal goes through, I was like, what am I talking about? I was like, I have way more capital than is needed for the deal. I had my lawyers draft everything to perfection. We had a judge verify what the other person we're doing the deal with, that these unique things we're doing on the deal are in fact legitimate and legal and smart. We got a great team of real estate team on the deal. Like, I've been working on the deal for over a year. Like, what am I talking about? If the deal's done. I'm already under contract, like the deal's done. What do I mean if the deal goes through? And it's just that, it's that mentality of having had so much taken from me. It's like you always kind of hold out for, the worst to happen. And sometimes that's a self-fulfilling prophecy when you're holding out just in case the worst happens. And this is something that, you just got to wake up and just be like, yo, like, what am I tripping off? Or like, I got skylights all throughout my ceilings. Like, well, I got just irrelevant TVs everywhere. Like, what am I tripping over? Like, you got to get that out of your mind, which is to say that you don't invest in yourself because you might have a fixed mindset. You might think that you're poor. You might think things are going to go wrong. You have a scarcity feeling, even if it's not real. And so much of what you're dealing with is not real. It's all in your head. It's all in your head, man. And here's one thing I can assure you guys of. I've spent a lot of money on legitimate things and on things that are not legitimate. And as a result, I know the good things you can spend money on and the frivolous things you can spend money on. And of all my regrets in life, of which there are very few, not one of them involves money or how I spent money or how not one of them. And that's primarily because money is infinite and money can be replaced. And also, generally, if you spend some money, you're going to get something back from it. Sometimes you spend some time, you don't get anything back from it. You spend some emotion, you might not get anything back. But generally, money you're exchanging for something. So I've never had a regret on that. And because of that, I've figured out how to invest. Investing is the key. And I'm not talking about investing only in stock or things like that. I'm talking about investing in yourself to self-improve or to make yourself comfortable, or to seek new opportunities or to buy certain feelings is very much so worth it. So I encourage you guys to do so, especially if something is going to get you a golden ticket. Like, for example, my employee who's over yonder, who doesn't have to pay anything in rent. Shout out to him. But he's talented, but he invested in himself. The only reason he is working for me is because I met him on the drip trip, which means he invested in himself to pay to go on the drip trip. And then he took the initiative and invested his time to create great content, quality work. He didn't ask me for anything. I always tell you guys, don't make requests, make an offer. And then I observed his work. And then I didn't even know it was him. So I messaged the person I saw making these phenomenal reels on TikTok. And I said, hey, man, you're doing great work. I want to hire you. And then he says, oh, okay, like, it's me. I'm not going to say his name. I don't know if he wants his name said. He's like, it's me, so-and-so. I'm on the drip trip right now. He's like, yeah, let's meet up. We'll talk about it. So that made it even easier to hire him because there's trust and familiarity as opposed to him just being a random person on the internet. Recently, I posted an opportunity for the members. Another thing, invest in yourself. If you invested in yourself and you were a member, the job opportunity is something that you could jump on, right? And I'm still reaching out to people right now. One person emailed me and they said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm the perfect person for this job opportunity. I said, oh, phenomenal. Are you a member? And then they said, oh, no, actually, I'm not a member. You're not the perfect person then at all. Like, because this is for members. So you're not the perfect person. The perfect person is a member and has the skills. So why would I even consider investing tens of thousands of dollars in you when you won't invest $20 in yourself? I wouldn't. It's just not even a consideration for me. So those are the kind of things that people don't understand. Like, when people get memberships to certain things or you become a part of certain groups or clubs, you do it because there's a benefit. It's not because of anything else. You do it for self-interest, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you didn't do it, I'm not going to give you the benefit. You hear me? Like, there's another guy, and this is again with the topic of this live session, which is masculine thinking and masculine speaking. And this is an older black guy, and it's just really sad to see people at this age still thinking in such idiotic ways. He messaged me and said, hey, I forget if it was a book or a script or something like that. He says, hey, I have a book or a script, like I want you to read it, like, here's the link to it. And I was just like, I don't even know you. Like, I don't even know you, just in general. So it's like, number one, like, why are you even writing to me? I don't know you, number one. And number two, it's like, not only are you writing to me, a stranger, but you're writing to me to ask me to do you a favor, to give you some of my very expensive time for your benefit, like wholly for your benefit. Like, it's not going to benefit me at any level. I was like, this is so strange that you're that thoughtless and stupid, very feminine and very childlike in his thinking. And you're like, Marquett, why are you insulting the women saying it's feminine? Well, it's feminine because men, especially the weak males, they do favors for women with no return to them, right? Sometimes you'll do something for a woman just because she's a woman and they're accustomed to that. Or you'll do something for a child because it's a cute kid, right? Like, yeah, there are times that I'll be out somewhere. I might be with my old lady and maybe she wants to get some ice cream and some kids behind me. And I'll like pay for everybody's ice cream. Why? 'Cause they're cute kids, like it's cute little kids. Of course, yeah, I don't mind paying for your ice cream. I don't ever look behind myself and see a grown man and be like, hey, I'll pay for his ice cream too. Like, hell nah. Like, it doesn't even cross my mind. Like, when I look at them, I don't see the same thing. I don't feel any sentimentality. But when I see children, whether it's a little boy, little girl, I feel sympathy, And so, yeah, I might pay for their ice cream or whatever, wherever we're at, pay for their movie tickets. So kids and women, they do get free stuff. It's because they're cute. But you as a grown man, like, you're not cute at all. You're not gonna get anything free. You might get slapped in the face. So don't ask strangers, don't ask other grown men for handouts. It's very distasteful. And most importantly, it's not going to work. Your chances of success are very, very low. And what's worse is that you ruin your opportunity to correct course. Like, if you ever reached out to me and just asked me for something, I'm never going to give you a chance in the future. Like, you could turn around after that and offer me something. I'm not even going to accept the offer because I don't believe it's sincere. I want you to, stay away from me. So that's like if you can take that, and like, even every now and then I've made this mistake in my own life, even, not too long ago. And it's because sometimes we get so focused on what we want that we forget about other people are also human beings. They also have things that they want. So we get too focused on what we want. So for example, say I want to collaborate with someone on YouTube and I reach out to them and I say, hey, let's do a collab. I'm coming to your city. Let's collaborate. Well, I'm obviously reaching out because it's to my benefit. Now, maybe it might be to their benefit as well. But would it not be better? Maybe it'll take more effort, more time. But maybe it would be better if I reached out and said, hey, so-and-so, I'm coming in town. Do you want to meet up, get something to eat, or, stop by and have a smoothie or something? Just touch base, get to know each other. That'd probably be more effective and a better investment in the long-term relationship. And perhaps you meet up, you have coffee, or I don't drink coffee, but you have a smoothie or have something to eat. And then the person says, you know what? You're a cool cat, man. I like you. You want to collab? You want to do something? Then you do a collab. Or you might not. Maybe they'll recommend you or introduce you to someone. Or maybe you don't do anything, but you now have a reference point. So maybe they have a common friend and you reach out to the common friend and you do the same thing. You guys meet up and have lunch, and then the common friend that you guys now have, they're like, oh, hey, like the Saint in the Center came in town and met up with him. He was a cool guy. And then the other person's like, yeah, I met up with him too. He is a cool guy. So then the person that you didn't get the first time, the second person's like, oh, you met up with him too. You like him? Okay, cool. I'm going to do something with him. So that's how that works. That's network, that's community, that's offer, that's investment, that's not request. You can't go around just asking people for stuff. You need to make an offer, and you need to have urgency, and you need to have sincerity. And one of the things that I really enjoy about Boston University that for me is the greatest value is the psychological stuff. Now, frankly, I don't think that, therapy is mostly not helping anyone. Like, I just hate to say it, but it's just so true. It's mostly not helping anybody. But What I like about Boss University from a psychological perspective is that it breaks down things in such a simple and rudimentary fashion. And it says, if you're feeling this, do this. Or if you want to feel this, do this. If you're stuck in a rut, here's how you need to be thinking. Do this. It's just, that's what gets the job done in life. Like for example, right now, if I were to say, okay, Marquett, how are you feeling? And I hope I always use loneliness as an example because I think that's the biggest thing causing people issues today is loneliness. Biggest thing that humankind is dealing with. In fact, I know that remote work is not good for businesses, right? If you're on the business side, not good for you. People on the employee side think it's good for them. But the truth is that it's not good for you psychologically and socially. So, people often don't know what's good for them. That's the trouble, is that you think something's good for you, it's really not good for you. That's the problem. Let me check in on some of these. Anyways, gentleman writes, Marquette, I just did my thing with a thick Asian tenderoni and did a lot of lifting. Any advice for a quick shoulder healing? Oh, she was super thick then, bruh. She was super thick. You know what, man? Always for me is if you have an injury, light exercise, lots of stretching. There's actually a place called Stretch Lab that I go to. I haven't been in a while, but when I was fighting competitively boxing in Kentucky, I used to have an office in Cincinnati and used to have a home in Kentucky. There's a place called Stretch Lab I used to go to. And there's some solid white girls in there. You hear me? Like just solidly built. Like Shorty used to like row crew or something. So they were tall and strong, and them birds will stretch you out. Pause. And it would be phenomenal. Really get you loose, man. And it's also relaxing because unlike yoga, you don't have to do anything. You kind of lay on a bed kind of situation, and more like a bed table, if you will. And they'll stretch you out. They'll take your limbs and flex them, and that'll get you right. But Shorty was thick, man, and thick Asians, that's not everyday stuff right there. I've only personally laid hands on 2 of them. And, it's just such a beautiful thing. It's like capturing a unicorn. It really is a beautiful thing. Shout out to my thick Asians. You heard me? I love you. I know the thick Asians, sometimes they be ostracized because the other Asian chicks be super jelly. You heard me? They be getting like ostracized. But me, I got love for you in the realest of ways. Shoot, thick Asian, man, that's heaven on earth, boy. Masculine thinking and speaking is business thinking and speaking. It's thinking before you speak, and it's speaking in a way that's concise and clear, linear and simple so that you can be understood, and then effective plans can be put underway. So that's really what this is about. And it's also to remind all of you the best way to communicate with one another and me as well, because I find it taxing when people are verbose. Like even ladies around me, I might ask them something and they just start talking, and I just be looking at them. And then when they're done, I'm like, can you repeat the important part? You heard like just the important part, like, cause goddamn, you heard me? Like, shut up. Respectfully, with love. Shout out to the ballers. Rodney writes, peace of the saints. This is for all the people who don't donate. Saint, I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. They don't even hit the like button. It's kind of crazy when you really think about it. It's insane. It's like, and this is how I know that there's a such thing as wickedness, right? They watch in the shadows. They watch from the shadows with jealousy and hatred. Because if you were here with a generosity of spirit and kindness and sincerity, maybe you feel like you don't have $1, which is insane, which is fine. I've definitely been there. I've definitely been in literal situations where I did not have $1 to my name. That's been the truth of my life at various points. But I would always hit that like button off rip because that's who I am. That's my nature. My nature is to be thankful. My nature is to show love to those who show love to me. My nature is loyalty. That's who I really am. So hitting that like button, that's a given. And beyond hitting the like button, if I had $1 and I felt like I was gaining value, then I would probably at some point support the work, only in as much as like I wouldn't be there if I'm not getting value, or I wouldn't even show up if I'm not getting value. But it was said of Huey P. Long, he's a late, great statesman from the state of Louisiana, that He was very well loved and very well hated. And he was such a great speaker, a dynamic speaker, that when he spoke, the pro-Long people would go and hear him, and even the anti-Huey Long people would show up and listen as well, because it was such a dynamic experience. And the people in the front would say, "That's right, tell him, Huey." And the people in the back would be like, "Go to hell, Huey." But they'd be there listening. If someone is wicked, the longer we let them live, we just let ourselves be in a position to be victim of their wickedness. I truly believe that if someone is wicked, like those who would abuse children, for example, we need the final solution. We don't need to put them in prison and to pay to keep them alive. I'd rather allocate that money to early childhood education. I'd rather allocate that money to poverty alleviation. I'd rather allocate that money to new techniques in farming. I would not like to allocate that money to keep degenerates alive. So we do the efficient and the old world thing of slitting their throat and maybe turn them into fertilizer such that they would be good for something in the society. You all have lost your testosterone. I want you all to know, and I've said this in previous lives that I've had to private, but because you guys have no testosterone now, you forget that the police is a fictional creation. It's not fictional, but the policing force is a recent creation. And you should understand that before there were police, there was your family clan. And if someone wronged your family, then you would have a blood feud, and your family would take care of it. And you, being the man in your family, you would be a part of taking care of that. Today, if you go to Kenya, they have the Maasai, and the Maasai still walk around to this day with blades on them, swords. And every Maasai man is a Maasai warrior, which is really the truth of what we all should be. We should all be warriors as men, protectors. And the truth of the matter is, when you look at the other mammals, are lions vegetarians? You see, if I would leave it up to you low testosterone males and you liberals, you guys, if you guys ran the zoo, you'd be, all the lions and, carnivores would die because you imbeciles would try to turn them into something that they're not. You'd be like, oh, we have all of our lions on a gluten-free vegan diet. Lions be looking scrawny and sick, ending up dead because you guys try to turn everything into a Care Bear. So I remind you all that the police is a government entity, and every man used to be the police for his family, used to be the protector for his family, and which is to say you're warriors. And the truth is, just as natural as it is to impregnate a woman and to create life, it is also as natural to take life. And I really hate to say it, but the superstructure, the government, the power holders would like you to not know that and to not live in that reality so they can keep you controlled and they can maintain their position over you. But if you would observe, when the upper classes or the plutocrats, if the plutocrats get mad at, say, Muammar Gaddafi, what do? They aerially bomb the Air Force before it takes off. They put that no-fly zone up. They bombed Tripoli, which is a city that has a third of Libya's population. They killed man, woman, and child. When the plutocrats in Israel want the land that is called Palestine and rightfully belongs to the Palestinians, did they talk it out or did they take it through murder? All of you watching probably are either on the side of colonized or colonizer, slave or enslaver. And violence, murder, you might call it, has really been the way of the day. And the only problem is that the wicked have been the ones to appeal first to it. And those that would call themselves good have thought that they could turn the other cheek. And in the process of doing so, they get their head chopped off or enslaved or colonized. And so I'm bringing forward to you a new regime and saying that it is ethical to eliminate the wicked. It is ethical. And when we fail to do so, we have Hitlers rising up left and right. And today we see that we have various Hitlers running around controlling things and being very detrimental. So what I'm just sharing with you is something that appeals to true masculinity and what we really are as human animals, which is to say that all of the people in power, they order death on a daily basis. You didn't hear your buddy Donald Trump is ordering death upon the Yemenis? Yeah, you ever heard of Yemen? Yeah, he's killing them over there. Now you might say, well, why is he doing that? We're Americans in America. Why is he way over in Yemen, a place I never heard of, a place I can't point out on a map? Why? Shipping lanes, commerce. He's killing these people who are just merely trying to take control over their own country and their own sea lanes and, take a little bit of profit for themselves, which is fair enough. But he's over there murdering them. So your leaders want you to be nonviolent and peaceful while they constantly act out violence. Why do they want you to be scared of violence? Because violence is the only thing, it's the one thing that can take them out of power. Violence is the one thing that a poor man and a rich man have the same amount of when we're talking man to man, right? So if I'm a wealthy man and you're a poor man and we're standing toe to toe, we both have the same amount of violence to use. Now, unless we're talking about purchasing weaponry and things like that, then yes, of course, the wealthy man has a greater monopoly on it. But once you talk about numerical supremacy, the wealthy man, because the wealthy class is the small part of the triangle, the top, right, the small part, and the masses are the large part. If they ever have one who is a great orator, a great organizer, he can organize and have force of numbers that will be comparable to what the wealthy can organize through force of dollars and technology. And the truth is, even the people that operate on behalf of the wealthy are themselves the lower classes, the poor. So the organizer, the orator, the ideologist is the most dangerous person in society, and that's why they would keep one marginalized. But they want you to be nonviolent and on that Martin Luther King stuff. That's why they gave Martin Luther King a holiday. That's why they let Nelson Mandela out of jail and pretended as though he was a martyr or like a revolutionary and like a hero, because they want you to be nonviolent. I can assure you that if the South Africans were not on that Martin Luther King stuff and they were on that Nat Turner time, South Africa today would be a radically different place. And you see, people get shocked when I say certain things because, and even though the things I'm saying are basic, it's basic. Like, I'm sitting here in America on the bones of the Native Americans. Like, I couldn't be here if the Europeans didn't come and commit murder to the tunes of millions of men and women and children. If they didn't do that, I couldn't be here. We're only here because of murder, you see? Now, I didn't have any part in it. I'm the beneficiary. And my people were also murdered in the Mafia. But murder is, it's as American as apple pie. It is as inherent to the human experience as birth is. And if you ignore or pretend that that's not the case, then you're in the weaker position. So you just fundamentally don't understand. You're living in lies and delusion. Shout out to Ramon. He writes, Mr. Burton, my backpack briefcase arrived yesterday and it's phenomenal. It will surely give me an edge in this year's Players Ball. Long as you don't attend. Peace of the Saints. Peace of the Saints. Shout out to the real ones. I actually got 2 of them bad boys over here. I haven't even opened them just up yet. You feel me? I got the boxes. I haven't even opened them up. They just been sitting by my front door. You feel me? I haven't even opened those bad boys up. I just got 2 more of them backpack briefcases. You feel me? I got this one. I haven't even, took the plastic off this bad boy right here. Because, we wrap it so we don't want anything scratched. So we get the plastic on there. We want it to show up pristine. I got the flowers in front of the spot are starting to bloom. It's really getting beautiful out here. But anyways, yeah, they want you to be nonviolent. And so when you hear someone like me, you get shocked and scared because you're hearing ideas that, though the practice of what I'm saying is commonplace. The practice of what I'm saying is commonplace. Violence is all around you. Ukraine, Yemen, Afghanistan, Libya, Mauritania, Sudan, and I can go on endlessly. Syria, I can go on. Lebanon, Israel, Palestine, I can go on. The practice of what I'm saying is commonplace, but the verbalizing of what I'm saying is rare. And that's what's scary to you. I'm saying what they don't want you to hear. I'm conditioning you into having fighting spirit as opposed to being a truly weak beta male. Yeah, you keep listening to that other stuff, you will remain in bondage. Promise you that. That would be cool to have a player's ball though. But definitely, guys gonna have to come suited in June. So you probably need to bring an all black workout outfit, bring an all white outfit just for fun, like you heard me, and then bring a suit. May I acknowledge Emmanuel sends in tuition via Venmo. Appreciate you. Shout out to the ballers. Shout out to Gwensley. Good to see you. Came in via PayPal with a baller alert. Caleb came back. He writes, peace to the saints. Thank you for the guidance. I just purchased Boston University. Looking forward to the journey of improvement you discussed earlier. Yes, and you know, the great thing about something like Boston University, that's one of those ones that you can replay, and you'll have to. There's one lesson in Boston University. It's called getting out of a rut. I promise you, you're going to get out of the rut. Years later, you'll fall back into a rut, right? It's just human existence. And that's why Boss U is so powerful, because it addresses those common human experiences and it's going to give you that fix up. But here's the cool thing. When you internalize the values and the strategies, you're going to have what's called high lows. Every human being experiences lows, right? As you're trying to go up in life, you experience lows. But you're going to have high lows. Even when you have a low, it's still going to be higher than everyone else's normal existence. You dig what I'm saying? Like, even in ladies, if you're listening, listen to me. I'm such a disciplined person that it's very hard to tell when I'm like not well mentally. So I remember one time I was dealing with a young lady who had been around me for many years. And one time she was asking me something, you know how women tend to complain. And I just said, hey, you know, I'm not feeling like myself. I've not been feeling very well. I'm not talking about like being sick. I was talking more like being depressed, not clinically, but like being depressed, right? I forget what was bothering me. I can't remember now, some time ago, but I remember distinctly two things. Number one, that this woman who knows me very, very well could not assess that I was feeling like depressed or like down, which almost never happens. So I found that to be strange, but it also made sense because most people, if they're depressed, they like stay in bed all day, they don't work, they're unproductive. But I can be depressed, I'm still gonna get up, I'm gonna hit my workout, I'm gonna work for 10, 15 hours, I'm gonna be polite and respectful to people. But there's just minor differences that you might notice if I'm depressed. Like my diet might be a little different. My workout might not occur at quite the right time. I might be moving a little slower, but still faster than everybody else. So it's in those subtleties that you would have to gather it. And then, and this is a separate thing that's not just unique to me, and this is for all the women out there, and I really want you all to take this seriously, because you're not a great woman. You might be a good woman, but you're not a great woman if you can't deal with the following thing. This happens a lot, and this is why a lot of these broads are not worth anything. I'm not a complainer. I think it's very clear that I'm not a complainer. That's why I've gotten where I've gotten to in life. I am not a complainer. I'm not a sympathetic or an empathetic person. I don't have sympathy for myself, and I don't have it for anybody else. I'm not a complainer. I never have been. Even when I'm not feeling well or feeling happy, if you say, hey, how are you? I'll probably say, I'm good. I'm okay. I'm all right. Even when I'm not. Most of the time I am doing fantastically well. I'm very happy. I'm very pleased. But if you ask me, how are you? And I say like something negative, I'm in a very bad situation. You hear me? Like I'm down bad, like, because I would never really admit to that. Like, I would never say that out loud. That's just not my personality. So I remember one time I was around this chick who's known me for many years. And you know, this is not something unique to her. She's just a woman. But it was highly disappointing. She had said something she didn't ask me how I was, but like she was like complaining about something or like asking me to do something or asking maybe why I hadn't done something and just being an annoyance and irritant. And I said, please, just please stop. I feel like I'm dying. And then she said, well, I feel like, and then that's when I knew. I was like, wow, like it was a reminder that there's only always just you. As a man, there's just you. There's no one else that's gonna save you. It's just you. A woman can love you to death. Your kid, I don't have any kids, but your kids love you. Everybody thinks you're great, but it's just you at the end of the day. I told Shorty, I feel like I'm dying. Woman knew me for damn near a decade, never heard me say anything even remotely close to that. If she was awake and she was not stuck inside of herself, she would have probably been like, oh God, like this is something I need to address. I need to help him address because he's struggling right now. Because it's so far out of my nature, so very far. Like if I were her, I'd be like, God, let me go gather up all the guns in the house. You heard me? Like, bro's on the edge. He's on the edge. Get all the guns. You heard me? But I said that to her, and then she starts talking about what her issues are, like a woman, right? And then I sobered up, and I was like, yo, I got to snap out of this. I got to snap out of this because she's not going to help me. Nobody's going to help me. I got to snap out of this. And it sobered me up. It sobered me up, and it just brought me back in and said, okay, bro, like you don't have time to feel like you're dying because if you stay in this state too much, you might die. Like waiting on these people to help you, you might die, buddy. Because there's no one out there to help you. That's why things like Boss University, I think, are absolutely critical because the only person who knows how you feel is you. The only person who really cares sometimes is you. And maybe your mom, maybe. And when I saw that, I was just tripped out because she's a good woman. She's not a bad woman. I was just like, yo, if she was lesser of a woman, and I do know a lot of women that are less than her, I was like, man, if she was lesser than a woman, just imagine. And I was just like, even to this day, it just still boggles the mind how you could observe me over many years. That was the first time I'd ever said anything negative. And it didn't register. And I was just like, holy moly. like I was scared to say it out loud because I didn't want her to overreact. I didn't want her to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, do we need to like, are you okay? Like, I didn't want her to overreact, but I just said it. And then I was like, whoa, like that didn't even mean anything. I was like, you watch somebody be happy for like 7 years. And then they said, I feel like I'm dying. And that didn't even register. I was like, damn, that's crazy. Which is to say this, with all love and respect, women really, for the most part, just love who you are to them, what you can do for them. And as I mentioned in another stream, if you remember, I did a cold stream recently, so much game. I'm gonna upload that for you. But one of the things I mentioned briefly is that, actually, I don't even think I got to it. I got a whole bunch of notes I didn't even finish. So I'm not gonna talk about it right now. I'll go through the notes. I'll do another live stream on the notes. But point is, there is a such thing as a woman loving you. It's just very rare. It's very rare. And it's improbable that you're going to experience that. Especially as you start to do this in life, you're going to find that the love becomes a lot more insincere and hard to, it's hard for it to be real love. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for it to be real love unless you're dealing with a wealthy woman that is young and has no needs from you, and she's dealing with you exclusively because of the compatibility that you guys have. So what's the likelihood that you're gonna find a young woman who's not traumatized and is wealthy and therefore has the capacity and the lack of need that empowers her to be able to have sincere love for you, right? It's just very, very low. There's a multitude of women who think that they love you, but they really don't. There's one young lady whom I have a lot of appreciation for, and a lot of love for her, but she's had too much experience, and as a result of her experience, she can't ever really experience pure love. I'll tell you the example. Long story short, and I may have mentioned this once before, but trip on this. She was with a guy before who was incompetent. And because he's incompetent, they were relying on this girl's father to support their lifestyle. So the father had bought them a house and did various things for them. And then I was with the young lady. She was at one of my properties and we were having a conversation. And then I think she had said, like, why don't you move to Miami? And I said, oh, yeah, I should move to Miami, get like a $4 million mansion down there. I was like, what do you say? Should we get one or two? She starts laughing. I was like, yeah. I was like, like, can your dad give us a couple $1,000,000? We'll get a huge one. We'll move in next to DJ Khaled. And then she was like, no, like, I'm not going to ask my dad for money. And I was just teasing her, mind you. I was just teasing her. And she said, I'm not going to ask my dad for money. And I was like, yeah, I know, like, we don't need the money, number one. I was like, but if we did, what do you mean you wouldn't ask him for money? She was like, no, like, I've done that before. I would not ask my dad to, like, support my life. Like, I'm an adult and I wouldn't do that. And then it dawned on me, oh, so there's a limit that you can love me, because the love that you had with this past guy that went wrong, that ruined what I can experience, meaning that for that guy, with that guy, you would ask your dad for a favor. With me, you wouldn't. So you're giving me less. So that's less love. It's impure. But what's ironic is that that last guy was dishonest, low integrity, and unproductive. He takes the money from your father. He can't make it grow. I'm a businessman. I'm tried and true. So anything that comes to me is going to multiply in value. That's my track record. That's not talk. That's my track record. But you're so scarred from your past relationship that you believe that it'll be the same outcome as the last guy, even though you're looking like, when you met that guy, he was down bad. You met me, I'm, property here, foreign bank account there, million plus in cars, this and that. It's like, I'm winning. So you can't even see the reality of things. So I was like, oh, I got to slide Shorty to the side, because she can't even deal with reality because of her past scarring. And that's why I always tell you guys, you have to deal with younger women. And it's not even because I think like younger women are better. It's just that they're less damaged and there's less demons in them. They're dealing with internal demons that you have to fight against. That's the only issue right there. So that is the problematic thing with them. You're not experiencing a real, sincere, unbridled, thoughtless, natural love. You're experiencing a very controlled, trauma-based, pensive, nervous, anxious, fraudulent form of love. Is fake. So that's mostly what you're going to be dealing with. And, frankly, it's a hard sell, man. It's a hard sell. Sometimes I just sit back and think, you know what, bruh? I think I'd rather just get a bad chick pregnant and then just let the kid be a bill. You heard me? Just like I pay my cell phone bill, like, just tell me what to send. You heard me? Y'all stay over there. That's how ridiculous their offer is for the most part, because the love is insincere. The women are incompetent. And so it's just like, I'd rather just like, you just stay over there. You heard me? That's what it's come to, unfortunately. May I acknowledge? Austin writes, I've put your sentiment on violence into a pithy statement. Let me know what you think. Quote, violence tends to avoid the man who seeks it and seeks the man who avoids it. Austin, you have a bright future. You have a bright future. You have a very bright future. You the one. You are the one. That's correct. That's 100% correct. Shout out to Alfonso with the triple baller alert. Man, it's balling. Writes, peace to the saints. Shout out to the real ones. I also acknowledge Richmond writes, for the game, wish I could send more in due time. Peace to the saints. I appreciate you, Richmond. I really do. It doesn't, and that's why I don't announce the amounts, because it's just a token. It's just you saying, hey, man, I hear you, I see you, I appreciate you, and that means everything to me. And as I remind you guys, there have been times where I literally did not have $1. And so if someone sends $1, I respect it at the same level that I respect if you send $1 versus $20 or $40. It's you saying, I'm going to give at the level that I can give. I don't think anyone's trying to shortchange me. I think people are giving at the level that they can give. And I respect that. I think that's honorable. And that's what happens within a community, is that you respect people for what they can do. And we all make sure that everyone can make it across the finish line. You know, we're in this together. And that's what we've lost in the modern society. You know, even my mother was asking me, she's like, you know, is he living there for free? I was like, yeah, of course. He works for me. Like, he's helping me push this movement. Of course he's living there for free. I'm not gonna charge him. I don't have to. And that's a blessing. That's a blessing that I don't need his money to pay rent. You know, like, that's a blessing for us. And when we're together in community, we take care of each other. That's what it's about. And you do your part. Like, one thing I can tell you, there's a time I had 3 ladies here, and after the weekend was over, I was talking to one of them, and she made a keen observation about one of the other ladies. She says, you know, so there's 3 of them. She says, you know, we're mostly just like, if there's something that needs to be done, we go do it. We don't wait for somebody else to do it. We're excited to contribute. She's like, you know, but so-and-so, she kind of hangs back until, you know, there's a need that no one else is fulfilling, or someone has to ask her to help. And she's like, you know, that's not really the mentality we want. And that's correct. You want a situation where everyone is contributing as much as they can and they're happy to contribute. And one thing I learned, and I wrote about this in my book, The Black Box, there's a gentleman I knew who's Mormon, and he was always so very happy to, or excuse me, he found it so easy to ask you for help or ask you for favors or ask you for anything. And I didn't feel very comfortable with that initially. And then I realized why he's so comfortable asking for stuff. And it's because he's also very excited to help you. You know, he might ask you for something, but bro is the most excited person to help you out. You hear me? Like, you could be moving, you'd be like, hey, Andrew, I'm about to move from, you know, Atlanta down to Miami. He's like, oh, that's great. I have a truck. Like, here, what day are you moving? I'll put it in my calendar right now. I'll be right over. You know, maybe I'll get my wife to help us bring some stuff too, and she can bake some cookies while we're moving. No, bro is really excited and sincere in helping you. And because he's so sincere in offering his service, he's feels no problem asking for your service. And when you're in community with someone like that, you don't have to worry about everything adding up. It's always going to add up. And in the cases where maybe it won't add up, maybe you have a little more money than this guy or that guy, it doesn't matter. You know, you appreciate them for who they are and what they can contribute, and they appreciate you for who you are and what you can contribute. And you know, if fortunes change, and fortunes may change in this human life, that if it turned out that they were the very wealthy person and you for a time were not, then they would do what you did for them. That's community. And that's how we are supposed to be living. We're not supposed to be robbing, stealing, cheating, and being suspicious of one another, especially not our neighbors. Just imagine, I promise you, none of you guys know your neighbors, right? I don't care where you live. Most of you don't know your neighbors on a first name basis. You don't have any sense of who your neighbors are. Now, granted, I live in a nice neighborhood, and I just realized how nice it really is. I took a jog over yonder, and it's a gorgeous golf course over there. The properties over there are really magnificent. Mine is a little different because I have like 2 driveways that lead up to the property on 2 driveways that lead up on separate sides, and it's raised up. So mine's not very accessible or even visible from the street because I have trees in the front. But when you get over toward the golf course, you can pretty much see people's houses. You can even see into their houses, really. It's quite nice. And everyone's very friendly in the neighborhood. Like, if you're jogging or walking, they smile, they wave. And that's always something that I find in upper class neighborhoods. If you're in a lower class neighborhood and you're walking around and you're jogging, no one's going to smile and wave at you. It just doesn't happen for a variety of reasons. But that's really more so what a neighborhood should be like, but even better than that, because the fact remains that I don't know any of my neighbors. The neighbors to this side, it's a white family that has 3 boys. I know because I can see into their backyard because, as I said, my home is quite high, so I can see down into their backyard. The neighbors over this way, they're a family with 2 kids and a dog. I can see into their backyard, but I don't know any of these people. I don't know their names. I don't know what they're up to. I don't know what they do for a living. None of that. When I moved in, they didn't bring over a housewarming gift. I didn't go knock on their door. We stay separate and remote. I never asked them for anything. Why? Because if I need something, I'll order it on Amazon or I'll drive to the grocery store. And I'm sure they'll do the same. So we don't ever engage one another, which is a pity, because if my old lady is cooking and she needs some salt, she should be able to go next door, knock on the door. Hey, Karen, can I? Hopefully, it's not a Karen, right? Hey, Sally, can I? You mind if I have some salt? But that'll never happen in the modern world as things currently stand, and that's not really what it's supposed to be like. And yeah, shout out to Caleb. I see he did, in fact, get the Boston University, and you're really going to enjoy that. I promise you. You're going to find a great value for that. I also had a number of stocks sell. So we see, oh, wow, Amazon dropped quite a bit today. So I just added some Amazon to my portfolio in aftermarket trading. Amazon apparently dropped down to $1.84. I'm gonna load up, you heard me? Yeah, in a real way. I'm about to load up. Get to this bag, get to this goddamn Fetty. You playing with me, man. I'm about to get to this Fetty. Listen to me, man. If Trump is able to do 60% as well as he thinks, I'm about to get to this Fetty. The market is down. I also bought some of this. What is this? Is this Apple? Let me see. Yep, Apple dropped as well. Now that's a win because Apple has so much cash. They really can't lose. They're not very innovative, but they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So that's a win. I got some Apple, I got some Amazon today, and also, and I think that's because, like he said, this is Freedom Day, April 2nd. That's when the tariffs start hitting. So, that stock market is apparently taking a little dip ski. I'm all good with it. And there's also another company based in San Francisco. They're like in the pet industry. And I don't personally do pets, but I know that the pet industry is largely predicated on mental illness. And mental illness is going to increase unless this ism gets spread rapidly. So it's going to increase. And so as a result, I know that pet-related industries in the short term are going to suffer because it's leisure, it's unnecessary stuff. But in the long term, they're going to do really well. I just bought one of these particular companies at 15 cents a share. I had the buy orders. That buy order's months old, but I got it at 15 cents per share. They got about 63 employees. So that's nice because they're already pretty lean. And if that thing messes around and gets to $1 a share, I made a killing. I don't remember how many shares I bought. Maybe I bought like 500 shares or something like that. Who knows? I don't remember, but it was 15 cents a share. And I'll make a killing if they recover. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. And we really out here hustling. Shout out to Austin, went to manandwomanbrand.com. He got the Man and Woman Brand slides. He also got some floral hand and body wash. Shout out to him. Appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. Okay, what else we got here? Now, also acknowledge via PayPal. Shout out to Miles. He writes, "Peace to the Saints. I just reviewed Boston University, and I want to apologize for speeding through it the first time. The work is so profound, you have to take time to soak it in. This is truly life-changing. I could spend the next 6 months just trying to execute lesson 1 in real life." Thank you, Mr. Burton, for producing this course. I appreciate you saying that because that's the truth of it. Sometimes and that's what people ask me, like, how fast do you read books? It depends on the book, but mostly if it's a great book, I don't want to read it fast. I want to read up enough until I have an action item, and then I want to get good at implementing that action. It's like we don't take enough time on the things that you need to take time on. Like growth takes time to absorb something into your personality, into your character. That takes time and practice. Shout out to Constantine. Sends intuition via Venmo. And it's also important to realize that we're not finished products. We're human beings. So you have to continue iterating and improving. And sometimes you learn something and you still screw up. It's okay. Shout out to Donnie, just became a member at patreon.com/thesaintandthesinner. People think that, you're not going to make the same mistake twice. I promise you, you will. Whether it's with women or otherwise, and the key is to try to minimize your losses and do a better job next time. There have been times I've been talking to my mother, and she was like, you're playing with fire right now. I was like, for sure. We both started laughing. I was like, absolutely, 1,000%. Like, I know damn well I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. But it gets like that. And the key is, how do you reduce the number of times that you play with fire or you do dumb things? And then how do you mitigate the negative consequences? Because you're a human being, you're going to screw up. The question is, are you getting better at screwing up? Huh? See, you didn't think of it like that. You're going to screw up, but are you getting better at screwing up? It's just like boxing. You're going to get punched. Are you getting better at taking the punches? Are you getting better at slipping the punches? Are you getting better at absorbing the punishment? Shout out to Aaron. He writes, Peace of the Saints, thank you for all this good game. You are welcome, and I thank you for the support. I do encourage everyone who uses PayPal to use a friends and family method if possible. Be very helpful, probably to the both of us. Let me acknowledge via Super Chat. We have Darius writes, Disney Pixar has not had one black male character. That's cold-blooded. That's a really good point you bring up, and I'm not surprised at all. The liberal white woman really sees us as enemy number one from a symbolic standpoint. Of course, enemy number two is the heterosexual white male, or as they like to call him, the cisgender white male. Shout out to Tyree, writes, Peace of the Saints tuition. Ramon writes, Mr. Burton, I want to become a member, but I'm currently 2/3 into Hustlemania. Working every day, not able to attend the orientation for a couple months. Is there a workaround or just wait? Well, orientation, tends to be at different times. So if I were you, what I would probably do is I would email me at marquettism.com, say, hey, these are generally my free days or free times. New member orientation is in the morning, so that's not flexible, but presumably you don't work 7 days a week. So we might be able to flex it out and put it on like a Saturday or a day that you're not working. Shout out to Saint DS, writes, Peace of Saints, I sent a video request. It is entertainment based, but it contains many lessons on communication and courting women, especially when examining the strong male versus the weak male. Okay, let's see what you got here.
Lights off in 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Okay, interesting. All right, yes, I'll keep that one pulled up. If you'd remind me, we'll see if we can do a little reaction to that at some point. Obviously, I can't do it here because I'm not on a computer. So do give me a 24-hour reminder if you don't see that go up. Shout out to Corvette Carter, writes, Peace of the Saints tuition, Florida Assassin. Shout out to the Florida Assassin. We heavy out there. John writes, off topic, been wanting to ask you, am I delusional for refusing to get with a single mom even though I'm a single father myself? No, you're not. No, you're not. Go for the best in life. Grizzly Adams writes, Peace to the Saints. Truly appreciate the last story and all the continuous knowledge. Absolutely. Shout out to Ross B supporting. I also acknowledge Dante Wick writes, grateful for the wisdom, sir. Peace to the Saints. Indeed, peace to the Saints. Grizianimo, I think that's it, writes, grateful for the game. I've been following you for a few months now, and I've learned more than enough to lead anything and anyone better than before. I appreciate that. And thank you for standing up, making your name known. The Playmaker Ken writes, Peace of the Saints. Recently, I've received a lump sum of money. My plan is to put it in a high-yield savings account and act like it's not there. Thoughts on this? There's nothing wrong with that at all. And that sounds smart. Stop Playing Trey writes, do you pay attention to when a stock is going to have earnings? No, I don't. And it's nice when they do pay out dividends. But no, I don't pay attention to it at all. It's not really a part of my thesis on buying. And I appreciate when the dividends are paid out. You could auto set it on certain brokerage firms to reinvest dividends, which I don't do. He writes, usually a stock will go up for a bit if the earnings are good. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, guaranteed. Not usually. I'd say most cases it's like clockwork. If the earnings report is low, or the outlook, I should say, is dismal, then the stock is going to tank, even if temporarily. And if the earnings outlook is favorable or they outperformed expectation, then yeah, it's going to go up. There's no doubt about that. I agree wholeheartedly. And, there's a number of, the funny thing too is that around that time that the earnings report is released, you can really get some good buys because what'll happen is we're dealing with mass psychology, right? So you'll have a company like, say, a lot of the real estate related industries and product and companies, they're in the toilet right now. But you know that there's still probably good companies like, say, Zillow or Redfin. I've seen them in the toilet. Certain builders, they've been in the toilet. And because Biden had an inflationary economy for the last couple years, we haven't seen the market being very good. And so as a result, those companies have been in the toilet. So when they released their earnings and they underperformed, uh, Wall Street kind of like pulls out money and the share price tanks a little bit. That's a good time to buy because the price usually recovers within a week or so after that low earnings report if the company's fundamentals are sound. And then you basically just got it for a low cost, and it's going to recover because real estate always has to recover. If real estate doesn't recover, then the country never recovers. It's going to recover. There's just no doubt about that. Unless this is the end of America, and America will end, but I don't think yet. I don't think we're there yet. So that being said, I do have a number of real estate related companies in my portfolio. I'd say probably as high as 10 separate companies. We're talking about from construction to Redfin to mortgage companies to building materials, concrete, steel, the whole nine. So I'm, of course, long on real estate, and I know it'll recover. Those are not short-term investments, though. Those are going to take a few years. Those are definitely going to take a few years. There's no doubt about that. I promise you. But when they recover, they'll recover nicely. And the good thing about it is that you're going to know when you need to sell, because when real estate is booming, it's in the news, you know. It's not a quiet thing. When real estate is booming, everyone knows it's booming. And, you know, I just bought a house, pretty much a house that I can't resell anytime soon because it's a bit grand, and you know, people are not buying grand homes in a time such as this or in the next couple quarters or years. So I bought it knowing that I'll have to hold on to it for a little while. And so sometimes you do that with stock as well, right? Which is to say, you know that the ballers are not about to be spending money, and surely the people who are not ballers are going to be even more conservative. But I do believe that when real estate starts hitting again, like when it's really hitting, my home that I just bought, I think I wouldn't be surprised if I get, bruh, I wouldn't be surprised if I get an additional $1 million. You hear me? I wouldn't be surprised if I get an additional $1 million on it, because one, it's a phenomenal, unique home on significant acreage. And I do intend to build, so we'll get $1 million plus the value that we build onto it directly. But when the real estate market starts hitting and people have optimism, then they start making irrational decisions that are favorable for people who have things to sell. They'll start trying to be opulent, and this is a home that is opulent. So it's going to do very well. And I bought it during a down market. So I did the very fortunate thing that I bought a house that is very expensive, and it was still expensive when I bought it, but not as expensive as it would be in a up market. And I bought a house that is not a primary residence, right? Like it's a country estate. So no one is going to buy a country estate, because a country estate is something where you go to retreat. It's a vacation home. It's a home where you host your extended family. But it's probably not somewhere you're going to live on a regular basis just because it's a little remote. It's an escape. So country estates are not going to sell well in a down market. So I bought a very expensive country estate during a down market, which means that I got it at a good price, even though it's expensive. So when the market is cracking, I'm gonna do well. I'm gonna do very well. Very, very well. My mother was talking to me. She was saying she wanted to buy a car. And I was like, look, this is not the time to buy a car. And she was like, well, I hear the price of cars is going to go up 10% because of the tariffs. I was like, you're right. It probably is going to go up 10%. Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's true. But what you cannot estimate at this time is when the economy will recover or how it will recover And if you, old woman, have the skill set to thrive in the new economy, so why would you want to obligate yourself to having payments on a liability? She's like, but you just bought a country estate. Right. Number one, I'm in tech. That lets you know that I'm a learner. I'm in the future of it. Like whatever the economy is that's coming up, it's a tech-enabled economy. I'm a thrive in it. You heard me? Like mom, like in with all due respect, like I went to elite universities. I'm the big brain. Like I'm the one that like I'm gonna win regardless. You heard me? Like if the future economy involves a skill set that I don't have, I can learn it. Like that's my pedigree. You're in the evening of your life. So you need to plan around that reality that you being in the evening of your life. I'm not in the evening of my life. I'm still in my working years and in my prime earning. But more importantly, you're talking about a car that's a liability. It's not going to grow in value. I'm talking about a home that's an asset and I'm buying it undervalued. There's no way you're buying a car that's undervalued. I'll tell you why. Number one, because the real estate market and the car market are different. You don't negotiate car prices. You don't negotiate that. You do negotiate house prices, right? So it's possible for me to buy a distressed asset. It's possible for me to negotiate the price down. It's possible for me to put them in a pinch. It's possible for me to do clever things. With a car, you cannot negotiate the price down. They might say, oh, we'll give it to you for this, but you didn't negotiate the price down. I'm telling you, you're never gonna walk off a car lot where the car salesman is like, dang, they got me. That's never gonna happen. They always got you. You can definitely do a real estate deal where the buyer's like, oh, the seller's like, oh, he got me. Because they were distressed. They were upside down on the mortgage. They paid off the mortgage and they're selling the house. They might have paid off, the house was handed down from their grandparents. Mortgage been paid off for 2 generations. And then now you bought it from them and they sold it under market value because they wanted to move to X, Y, and Z because they got a job over in whatever land or they want to be with their grandkids. So they sold it under market value knowingly. You don't have that opportunity in the car market, okay? Further, you already have a car, mom. And lastly, you're not gonna be able to resell any car for more than you bought it for. You always can resell a house for more than you bought it for. So this is a different situation. Also, if everything goes left, your car can get repossessed. Will the house get repossessed? No, it won't, especially depending on the state. If you're in Texas, you have some of the most phenomenal squatter rights, apparently, from what I've been seeing on the news. If you're in California, you got some squatters' rights. So there's just all of the things are weighing against you buying this car. But here's the most important thing that you didn't consider, mom. Here's the really important piece. You and everyone else knows the same information. That lets you know you're screwed. Anytime you're using information that is publicly accessible, you are at a disadvantage. This is why I always tell you guys to invest. Master Communicator course, Boss University, all these different things that I don't put out for free. The things I tell you for free are valuable, but the things I don't tell you for free are more valuable. That's why I don't tell you for free. And it's going to give you an advantage. And it's maybe things that I don't want to be commonly known because I don't want people using these strategies because it's going to make the strategy less effective, right? So when I'm telling you that if information is commonly known, then you're already screwed. This is what I mean, mother. If everyone knows that the car prices are about to bump up by 10% because of the tariffs, right? Everyone knows that, right? Do you think the car dealers are not preparing that and using a stronger negotiating position on you? Do you think they're not gonna not give you some of the discounts maybe you would have gotten 2 years ago or a year ago? Of course. Of course, they know that you're coming in and you're rushing in, all of you at the same time. So demand is high. Demand is high. So you're not about to get a deal because everybody's going in under the same idea. Come on now. So all the dealers maybe did is they reduced their orders for the next calendar year of cars from foreign makers. The current year that they have that they're selling, they know people are coming in hot. They want to get a new car before the sticker prices go up, get inflated 10%. Come on. Come on. So it's kind of like Christmas is coming up and you guys are all shopping for Christmas gifts at the same time. You think you're getting a deal? Stop it. Stop it. like as far as the salesmen and the department stores are concerned, you have to shop because Christmas is coming up. You have to buy a bunch of stuff. Why would they give you a deal? It's illogical to give you a deal before Christmas. You have to buy. Now, after Christmas, I'd give you a deal. Why? Because I got all this inventory that didn't get sold during Christmas. So yeah, I'll give it to you at a discount because there's no psychological imperative making you want to go get it. Come on now. So, it's like keep playing the chess moves and don't do goofy stuff. It's like, Mom, were you thinking about getting a car before? Or did you decide to get a car because you heard that the prices are going up 10%? Like, stop it. You're being like influenced by people who don't care about you. And this is the thing that I want you guys to understand in terms of focus. Focus is really important. There's a young lady that, in fact, two young ladies, because women love drama and BS, right? So when I went at Aaron the plumber, there's a certain individual that reached out to me and said, hey, I can put together this boxing match. I'll give you this amount. And I was like, that's not enough. And they're like, okay, well, what about this amount? I was like, nah, you're still not there. And I was like, I'm open for sure. Just get the number right and let's do it. And so then I end that conversation. I get back to the work that I'm doing. Young lady says to me like, oh, did they get back to you? I was like, who? She was like, so-and-so about the boxing match. I was like, no, but who cares? I was like, well, what do we care? Like, she was like, yeah, because that could be good for your career. That could be good for this and that. I was like, what's good for my career, I've been probably thinking about before now, right? So if I asked you a week ago, 2 weeks ago, about a boxing match, would you mention me doing a boxing match? She was like, no. I was like, why? She was like, because you don't compete anymore. I was like, exactly. So obviously a boxing match is not on the trajectory of where I'm going, right? Like what I'm trying to do is I need to be on Piers Morgan. I need to be on Fox News. I need to be talking to heads of state. I need to be influencing policy. That's where I'm trying to go. I'm not trying to become like Floyd Mayweather in the ring, right? Maybe outside of the ring, Floyd Mayweather. I was like, so my point is this, love. Because other people have things that they want of me or that they're interested in, I'm not gonna let that like sway my focus. So if a week ago you would have never thought of boxing, the only reason you're thinking of boxing match now is because this other person mentioned that and put that in your head. But what you should be reminding me of is not something that I didn't ask you about, but all of the things I've identified as a clear goal that I'm trying to work to. You see what I'm saying? I had to keep Shorty focused because she's getting influenced by the world out there. And a lot of you guys, you get influenced by the world out there, what other people are talking about, what other people want, the plans other people have for you. Whatever happened to the plan you have for yourself? You see what I'm saying? Like whatever happened to the trajectory you decided on? I was like, I get in the ring and knock that boy out cold. Is that going to get me closer to being on Fox News as a political analyst? Is that going to get me closer to debating Piers Morgan on geopolitics? Like, probably not. It's probably not on the trajectory. Now, will I knock him out cold if they got that number right? What? It'd be a pleasure. But I'm not going to distract and then like have that on my mind, like trying to work out a negotiation with somebody who doesn't want to pay me the money I want. You see what I'm saying? Whereas the broad is going to focus on like something like that and it's going to take away and sap your energy for the things that actually matter. You see what I'm saying? So you always have to keep an eye on not having mission creep. You got to remember, like, what did I come here for? There's so many people. They got plans for you. But the real question is, what plan did you have for yourself? Like, don't fall into other people's plan for you. Shout out to Aaron. He writes, Peace of Saints. How can I send you a business proposition? I have a service I offer for, two creators now and would love to know if it's something that could be used for the good of the assassin. Peace of the Saints. Apologies, goods and services. Okay, fair enough. Okay. Yeah, well, Aaron, go ahead and send over an email and I'll take a look at it. See what you got. And if you don't hear back, obviously when you send the email, put a link to your product, a very short explanation, and just note that you sent in the PayPal referencing it. We'll take a look at it. reasonably absurd, right? Why is tech positioned to excel as AI evolves? Well, AI is tech. So that's why. He writes, is it moral for a company to profit on private knowledge? The word wouldn't be moral. Morality applies to persons. The word would be ethical. And I really don't think ethics is the order of the day. I don't think ethics is or has ever been the order of the day. There was a time ethics were attempted in the United States when they had prohibition. Ethics were attempted and did not go well. So I would advise you to check out the Book of Dark Truths. We talk a lot about that, but publicly I'll say that it's best to do what is right for you, what is right for your heart, and what you're willing to do. But do know that you can never compete with someone who is more ruthless than you are. So if you want to win, then you have to do what it takes to win. And if you're not willing to do what it takes, prepare to lose constantly. Mr. Brown writes, just had foot reconstruction surgery. That sounds serious. He writes, won't be able to walk for 2 months. Keeping the black box ready. Yes, sir. Absolutely, man. And you know what? That might sound rough, but there are worse things. There are worse things. And the good news is that you still have a foot and that it's reconstructed. So that's good news, actually. And we're going to wish you well. And I want to advise you, because I've had some serious sports injuries. I want to advise you to do that physical therapy and take that seriously and continue doing it at home in addition to when you're there in person. I really, really want you to take that seriously, because you guys might not know, but I used to love basketball. I mean, like, have a real love affair with basketball, man. I was balling hard. And then I snapped my Achilles tendon in Baltimore. And shout out to the brothers in Baltimore that they got some decent hoop game out there. You hear me? But I was really out there. I snapped my Achilles tendon. And then when I went through physical therapy, I did not do it enough and at the level that I should have. And, after I finally got back on my feet, which took some time, I could still dunk. So I was like, I'm still dunking out here. I ain't even tripping, but I should have been tripping. Because obviously I'm a fine athlete. So dunking really should not have been the measure of me being recovered. I should have did the full rehab, and I regret not doing that. And some things you just cannot undo. So I really advise you to take that seriously. That is not a joke. That physical therapy, that's real, man. And do it at home, not just when you're there with the physical therapist, because they're just there to guide you. They're not going to do it enough to actually fully recover you. I promise you they're not. You couldn't afford for them to be there enough to do it to fully recover you. So take it from me to really do that with seriousness. And I want everybody, if you guys don't take anything from this talk, what I want you guys to really take seriously is that you know where you're going. And don't let doubters deter you from where you know you need to be and from doing your own thing. Listen, I got a partner of mine who's doing something right now. A lot of people are hating on him, a lot of detractors. And he called me up and we're having a conversation about the thing that he's executing. And I said, you know what? I want to be that one person that says, bro, carry on, go forward like a fearless lunatic. I love it. I love what you're doing right now. Go forward with it. I was like, I see a lot of people detracting, hating on you, telling you not to, bro, keep going. Keep going. Only you know. They don't know what you're doing. No one's done what you're doing. They don't know how it's gonna go. Keep going. People will tell you all kinds of things, and people don't know what they don't know. This is what I mean. If sometimes querying the people or asking the people is not a good use of time. Now, I'm a true believer in market research and all these things, and surveying as appropriate. But if you look at, I believe Henry Ford said this. He said, if I asked people what they would prefer before the automobile, they'd say a faster horse, because that's all they could imagine, right? As far as their understanding of what's possible goes, everyone's riding horses and they're in horse-drawn carriages. He says, how could I improve your travel? They'd say, make faster horses, make the horse faster. They wouldn't say, give me a car, huh? So he had to think of something no one had thought of, or he had to figure out how to produce the car in a way that was low cost enough for it to be accessible and thereby be a viable business, or for him to outperform the competition to make things happen. So sometimes you do have a unique insight. Sometimes you do know things other people don't know. And sometimes you have to chart a path that has never been walked before. And as you chart it, people don't understand what you're doing. There's a lot of imbeciles. I remember the first time that Donald Trump was running for office, I was certain that he was going to get elected. And this is because I have a unique experience traveling throughout the United States. And I knew that there were certain populations, namely the Amish, because as you guys may know, I've mentioned many times, I would take holiday in rural Pennsylvania, where there's a lot of Amish people, and they never get into politics. They don't vote. They don't participate in politics. They probably don't pay any damn taxes. They stay separate unto themselves. But Barack Obama was so liberal that they really had gotten into politics, and I saw them putting out like political signs, and I was like, what? Not the Amish? Like, they're becoming worldly. They try to stay away from worldly people, as they call it, which is to say everyone else. And when I saw that in rural Pennsylvania, I was like, things are different right now. I was like, things are different. I was like, Trump is gonna win, because you have people who historically do not get involved in politics or like headlong involved. So I knew he was going to win. But if you were to listen to the Democratic machine and like the liberals and people in tech, friends of mine, they're like, there's no way he's going to win. You talking about the guy who was on The Apprentice? You're fired. You talking about that guy, the guy with the comb over? Nah, ain't no way in hell. And sure enough, he won. And they're like, no, he can't win. He said, grab her by he said all these crazy things. That's not presidential. Well, it turns out, I guess there's a new way to be presidential. Now, isn't there? By the way, my phone might die sometime soon. But I want you guys to know that sometimes you're doing something that people haven't done before, or you're doing something that has been done before, but you have to do it in a different way because it's a new era. Huh? It's a new era. Let's see if I can plug this in real quick. I accidentally turned on this damn fan. I don't know who thinks it's a good idea to, like, there's fans all over, and I despise fans. I don't know why people love fans so freaking much, especially in a gym. It's like, why do we need a fan in a gym? Aren't we in here to sweat? I thought that's why we're in here, to sweat. Give me a second. Plug this bad boy in. There we go. Yeah, throw those in the back so y'all can remember what it is. You heard me? Shout out to my assistant. She got many men's blood out of them shorts. The funny thing, man, I be wanting to just give y'all a demo because, like, oh, y'all forgot. You heard me? Like, y'all forgot. Y'all forgot. Like, let me see if I'm plugged in. Y'all see my belt? Yeah, I earned that belt. That's by putting people's lights out, my boy. Y'all forgot. I really do this. Might have to give some demos. People forget that I do this. Oh yeah, and as you guys might know, I've been getting attacked by the Matrix in a significant way over a significant period of time, and I mostly don't speak on it. But my music, I think, is back up on Spotify because my newest track just posted, and I think they reinstated the rest of my music. Had to lawyer up on them. Because people trying to take your boy down. Now just imagine, with all the vulgarity in hip hop music, they took my music down for hate speech. Like, that's crazy, right? But we lawyered up, so we should be back bracking. So you should be able to see my newest track, The Saint and the Sinner. I think it's called What Gang You From, Aaron the Plumber Diss. So, you go ahead, grab that. That's a slapper with some bars on it. May I acknowledge? Let's see who we got here. Shout out to none of the above. He writes, thank you for the stock recommendations. If it recovers, see you at the top. You know what? The larger stocks that we mentioned, the Amazon, the Apple, those are going to recover. There's no if. And I bet all of our lives that those are going to recover. You hear me? Like, I bet my mama life. I bet my unborn kids. I bet Amara's life. I'm betting everybody's life that those are guaranteed to recover. So that's a bag. You hear me? You could start spending that money. That money is good to go. And if they dip even further, shit, fantastic. Buy some more. Buy some more. And if I hadn't just bought a house, I'd buy a couple $1 million worth of stock right now. That's what I would be focused on. Apple tumbling like that, that's beautiful. I'm surprised I didn't get any Meta alert that I purchased some Meta, because I do have an open buy order. But Apple, that's a beautiful buy. Amazon's a beautiful buy. Apple's lost its innovation, but they have so much cash in that business. And I think they're probably going to come out with some wearable glasses. I don't know who they're going to partner with to make sure that they actually look stylish, but it'll run up some sales. It'll run up the share price. Then you have Amazon. Amazon's a staple. Amazon's damn near like a utility. Amazon is like electricity or internet at this level, right? Who do you know that doesn't use Amazon? Amazon is going to recover something vicious, man. So you better be buying it. I do have Tesla. I'm a little heavier in Tesla than I should be, because the Chinese car market is so freaking impressive. Like, listen, man, I got all kind. You guys have seen my cars, and they got the latest tech in them. And I remember last time I was in China, I was in a damn taxi, and it had the same kind of tech that my Rolls Royce has. I'm not talking about the antique Rolls Royce. Had the same tech in there. I was like, yo, what? How is this possible? How do you have a taxi that has the same kind of technology that the Rolls Royce has? They have a phenomenal market. Now, the only reason I'm heavy in Tesla is A, because it's connected to the government, and B, because it's supposedly an American car company. So they're going to be favored by Trump's protectionist tariff strategy. And so as soon as Tesla goes up, I'm going to sell and get out of there. I got some DJT, which was largely a mistake. I didn't realize that that was his Truth Social platform, which is rubbish. As soon as that gets above water, I'm going to sell that. I'm never getting back into DJT. And Tesla, I'm going to sell out of that. Not to say they don't make good products. They do. I think they make a phenomenal product, but the freaking Chinese are so advanced. They're so freaking advanced. I just will never bet against them in the long run. I think they're going to dominate in the car. Not I think, I know they're going to dominate in the car market, man. And they're making Rolls-Royce quality electronics and internal controls, LiDAR technology. And they're doing it for like 70,000 per car. It's like, what? Like, come on, man, it's unbeatable. Shout out to Reasonably Absurd writes, I'd like to debate the ethics of profit for a business or individual. Isn't there something more we should strive for? Well, it's not about we, it's about you. If that's what you want to strive for, like, go ahead and strive for it. But there's certainly arguments to say that profit is moral. And whereas Marx would suggest that anytime there's an exchange, there's exploitation. And I've unfortunately had a very sophisticated course on this. But you could similarly say anytime there's exchange, there's inherent profit, which is to say that unless you felt you were gaining something, you wouldn't even engage in the exchange. If it was a true equal one-to-one, like there's no profit and there's low incentive to even engage the exchange. So it's the profit that causes us to create the product to give it to someone else, and theoretically they value the product more than they value the $10 that they handed over. So we have a greater value for the $10, and the person that gave us the $10 has a greater value for the profit. And theoretically there's some goodness in that we both got what we want. So there's a lot of argument that can be made, but I don't really engage in that kind of theoretical, pedantic discussion. I'm more so concerned with things that are more practical, the regular, consistent happiness of me and my loved ones. I don't really debate. If I do debate on YouTube or Instagram, it's actually not a debate because I think the other person has good ideas or because I want to prove the verity of my own ideas. It's really just to engage the algorithm and the idiots who like entertainment, because people think debates are very entertaining. It's just to forward a goal. In my personal life, I really am not a debater. Like if we were in person and, you said, hey, I disagree with fill in the blank, I'd be like, okay, you heard me? Like, I ain't gonna try to correct you. I'm not gonna tell you what I think. I just be like, okay, for sure. Good for you. Like, carry on, my boy. Like, I don't want to persuade anyone of anything because I'm of the belief that I would much rather deal with those where we're already on the same page. Because even within agreement, there is disagreement. And what I mean is that, if we both love basketball you might think that a gather step is a travel, or like a Euro step should be illegal. And I think that it should not be counted as a travel. And it's like, even we both love basketball. We both agree basketball is the greatest sport. And we might disagree on some of the details. So I'd rather deal with someone that we have a fundamental agreement and then try to work out our details to build together, as opposed to engaging someone that I have a major disagreement with. Like maybe I'm like, hey, I love basketball. And he's like, well, I love rugby. And we're just so far apart. There's really nothing that we can build together. So debates are really not for building. It's very much so oriented on the Western European model that is adversarial. Like, for example, the legal system in the United States is adversarial, which means that you have a prosecutor that's going to claim that the person is guilty no matter what. They're going to try to find his guilt. And then you have the public defender who's going to say that the person's innocent, and they're going to try to argue for his innocence in all cases. So it's adversarial, and it's organized against these two, or it's organized for these two entities to go at each other and both to try to prevail, as opposed to them both saying, hey, let's collaborate to get to the truth. The only time we see a level of collaboration is for the plea, but the plea deal is not a concept of true collaboration. Rather, it's really to add efficiency to overwhelmed courts. So the Western way is really adversarial as opposed to cooperative. I remember I was in Jordan. I was in Jordan hanging out with some Jordanians and a few Egyptians. And one of the things I found really remarkable is that they were talking about, how their family courts work with divorce. And, they're talking about situations where, a husband and wife might divorce and how they work it out to make sure that it's a good outcome for the family. They were also talking about a situation wherein if you commit a crime and you're a man and you have a family to provide for, they take into account, how long they're going to put you in jail or the nature of the punishment based on the people you have to provide for. And I just think that's a fascinating system where you're treating people like human beings who are a part of your community, right? You're realizing that man is one who committed a crime, but he's not necessarily a criminal. I mean, there are some people that are criminals. I know them. But he's not a criminal. He might have committed a crime, but he also is a father and a husband and has people to provide for. And if you lock this man up for 10, 15 years, when he gets out, he won't be able to get gainful employment because he's too behind the economy. And this mother and this woman and these kids are going to suffer. And so they try to work something out that's going to make sense. And I think that's really where humanity is at its best, when it's not adversarial. It's not overly profit driven. So I agree with you on that one. But I think profit has morality, because the truth is most people don't have it in them to be ambitious just because that's their wiring. They want something from it. You hear me? And human beings don't believe in equality. We believe in hierarchy, and we prize hierarchy. There's very few people that truly are communists in their actual nature. The great example is Che Guevara. When he was in Cuba after the revolution, he would have these work days on the weekend, and he would invite government ministers and government workers to go in the fields and cut sugar cane. You might know sugar cane is a major export crop for much of the Caribbean. Haiti used to produce good sugar cane, I understand, and Cuba as well. And so he'd go and cut sugar cane, but he'd volunteer to cut it. And he expected the government ministers to want to go volunteer as well. His own wife didn't want to volunteer. She wondered why his woman wondered why he volunteered. The government ministers, who are communists, didn't want to volunteer. Well, why is that? They want to get paid. They want to be compensated. Also, they're lazy. Communism basically relies on the human being being magnanimous and hardworking and honest and believing in community, which is just frankly not real. I appreciate that question, though. And, as probably depending on youth, you tend to be more liberal or more hopeful. And some people might say, oh, well, you get pessimistic as you get older. No, you don't get pessimistic. You get realistic, because you understand the true nature of man. Like, you've seen mankind enough to know what man is like. So you start to figure out, oh, these people are not like us. I don't want to pay taxes to support lazy people. I don't want to pay taxes to support people who are not like me. I want to profit when I create a product. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? When you're young, you tend to have all these hopeful beliefs. Like there's an AI video, and I don't think most people realize it's AI, but it shares a meaningful story in that Ronald Reagan talks about going to the home of some liberal Democrats, and then he has a word with their daughter and asks their daughter, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the daughter says, I would like to be president. And Ronald Reagan says to the little girl, okay, well, if you were president, what's the first thing you would do? And the little girl says, well, if I became president, the first thing I would do is, I would make sure that everyone has food to eat. And he says, okay, that's pretty good. He says, okay, well, what if I gave you a job? You could come over to my house and, mow my lawn and, trim all the bushes and, and then when you're finished doing all that, I'll give you $50. And the little girl says, yeah, like I could do that. That'd be fun. Yeah. He's like, it'll be a little bit of hard work. She's like, yeah, I know. You have a big yard. It'll be a lot of hard work. He says, okay, and then I'll give you $50. And then once you get that $50, I'll take you to the grocery store and you can buy some groceries and then you can give it to a homeless person. And she said, well, why don't they just go to your house and mow the lawn and trim the bushes? He said, welcome to the Republican Party, which is to say that just as much as you can work hard and get the money to hand over to someone else, like they could just work hard themselves and earn their own money. And especially in a place called the land of opportunity, it's possible, but people choose to not take that opportunity. If you're broke in America, it's your fault. If you're an adult and broke at the same time, it's your fault. Shout out to Javier, writes, tuition came in by PayPal. I appreciate it. You really got to go out of your way to be broke out here. You really do. You got to go out of your way. And people get great opportunities, whether it's a woman getting a great opportunity to meet a man who is uniquely moral and honest, and she fumbles the opportunity, she's unresponsive, or she acts like she's like too nervous to go meet up with him, or whatever the case is, or it's you get the opportunity to join in on a business and you're not urgent enough about it, and someone else takes your job opportunity. Whether you get admitted to a university and you're like, oh, like it's expensive, I'm gonna go to the cheaper one. Like, no, go to Harvard. It's more expensive, that's fine. Go to Harvard, figure it out. People are passing up opportunities all the time, and that's how you know that we're spoiled. We're in the land of opportunity and that people are passing them up. But here's the catch. Some opportunities are unique, they never come back. And then what happens is the fact that you missed that opportunity is gonna color your life. And you're going to live at a level that you otherwise would have lived at a better level. So in America, you have no excuse for being broke. But in my personal opinion, I've never been to a country where there were no people with money. Every country I've ever been to, there were people with money. I don't care if we're talking about Zanzibar, we're talking about Tanzania, we're talking about Kenya, we're talking about Ethiopia, we're talking about Albania, we're talking about Philippines. Anywhere you can name that you think is poor, there are ballers there. And when I say ballers, listen to me, man, and I should probably release the footage. When I was in Philippines, and people consider Philippines a poor country, Filipinos consider Philippines a poor country. I was out in Philippines, young lady I know invited me to an event, and fortunately I wore a suit. I'm really glad I did. I show up, there's two people from government. There's one guy who is the head of airlines in Philippines. There's another guy who owns like one of the islands, like damn near owns Boracay, like all the real estate there. There's another guy that's into gold mining, and just everybody's balling. The house itself looks like the goddamn mansion off of The Great Gatsby. True story. Looks like the damn mansion from The Great Gatsby. They hired a whole little band to come and like sing. And like at one point they just stopped Shorty and took the mic and started doing karaoke. And the crazy thing, everybody there could sing. It was amazing. Like Filipinos are very talented singers. They're definitely the Black Asians. There's just no doubt about that, man. They be singing they butt off. You hear me? And I was the only person there that couldn't sing. And it's weird too. They thought it was like a talent show all of a sudden. They're like, hey, if you can't sing, you better dance. You got to do something. I was like, God damn, what's going on here? But the point is that everywhere where you think is poor, nah, somebody's balling. Somebody figured out how to get to that bag ski. You dig? So what you should be asking yourself is, why am I broke? You dig? You can go to Yemen right now. There's somebody in there balling. You go to Lebanon. There's somebody in there balling. Shout out to Johnny. He writes, met this Cuban girl on Hinge. She's 20, lives in Cuba. Oh, lived in Cuba till 12. Parents only speak Spanish. That makes sense. I'm a black dude. She let me hit first time and she said she has no type. Ooh, okay. Think she's just fast or what? Yeah, probably. Like, yeah, probably for sure. It get like that. Shout out to Rivington. He writes, working out listening to the word. I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. Bro said, do I think she's fast? Listen, man, with all due respect, there's just certain cultures where the morality is not really there like that. And Latin America, I'd say, is one of those cultures. And this is not to suggest, like, you got people be sensitive as hell. Like, why are you talking about Latin Americans like that? Like, you're black. Like, I am black. I'm aware. I'm not suggesting that my culture is better. I'm just saying Latin American women is just not a place of great morality. I do make a bit of an exception for Mexico, which I find that there's definitely some pockets in Mexico where people have proper morals, but I'll say the whole damn country of Colombia, Brazil, like I wouldn't want a chick from there from a moral standpoint. So Latin America as a whole, like I would not go there to find moral women. I think Africa, it's a mixed bag. United States is a mixed bag. I think Latin America is a dirty bag. I really wouldn't want to reach in there. Europe is a dirty bag, but it's still a bit of a mixed bag. They're just a bit liberal. But it's not ideal, that's for sure. Parts of Asia, you can do some good work there. But for the most part, they're sticking to their own, which I can't blame them. Middle East, it's a mixed bag. Unless you're talking about Morocco, like Northern Africa, a little bit sus. Kind of like Moroccan chicks are the greatest gold diggers on earth, along with Ukrainians and Russians, worst gold diggers on earth, which is ironic because it's not poverty that equals gold digger. People would falsely think that. It's not the poverty that makes them gold diggers, because you can go to very poor, landlocked countries in Africa and the women are perfectly fine. They're not gold diggers. The people are not lazy, dishonest, and deceitful like you would find in Egypt. You can go to countries poorer than Egypt and they're just much grimier people. You can go to the country of Georgia and you'll find people like, lying and cheating. And Georgia's not super poor like that. I actually found Georgia to be pretty pleasant. I like their government. I think Georgia has a pretty good government. I don't even think the population realizes how good their government is in terms of being friendly to business. You can make a buck over there.